Chapter 10:15. The blue-robed emperor relied on his might to force back Lan Xiaobai's extremely crafty sword strike. The blue-robed emperor thrust out his palm, and his forehead lit up with light. Then, a bright light erupted behind him, and the power of heavenly laws surged out, forcing Lan Xiaobai, who was preparing to flee to the edge of the void, to reveal himself. When this energy swept past Lan Xiaobai, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. The Azura race's innate spatial ability is indeed difficult to deal with. If I had allowed you to grow for a while longer, I would not have been able to do anything to you. However, now die. The blue-robed emperor used his heavenly laws to lock down the surrounding space. Lan Xiaobai could not dodge. It looked like he would receive the blue-robed emperor's palm strike head-on. The consequences would be dire. Just as the blue-robed emperor's palm wind was about to touch Lan Xiaobai, an incomparably colossal shadow appeared. A strong wind blew. It was the legendary holy beast, the Kuan-peng, spreading its wings to cover the sky. Xiaochen turned into a Kuan-peng, spreading his arms and wings as he charged over. Then he punched, taking the initiative to clash. The intent materialized was one word: hate. Hate the sky for being too low. Hate the sky for being too low. Hate the sky for being too low. Unable to allow me to soar into the sky. Xiaochen executed the Kuan-peng fist and spread his wings. Despite moving later, he arrived first. Using the power of hating the sky, he used Lan Xiaobai to clash with the blue-robed emperor's strike. How strong was the blue-robed emperor's strike? The wind blew, the clouds moved, and the world moved. The torrential water surged violently, and a powerful force surged out. The surrounding warships were all lifted up by the waves, flying high into the sky and tumbling nonstop. Even the Dragon's Gate's warship was sent flying, although it did not tumble. When Xiaochen punched, he retreated 100 steps. Then he stood on the water, dissipating some of the force with each step. The waves surged, rising and falling. The fluctuating force could easily drown a city. The power of the heavenly laws fused with heaven and earth, and with a wave of his hand, he stirred the winds and clouds. The person in front of him should be the blue-robed emperor that Elder Qin had mentioned, who had already begun to build the bridge. However, it was clear that it had yet to reach the small success realm. It had only just built the pier, and the bridge was not even halfway across the chasm between heaven and earth. Otherwise, he would not have only suffered such a minor injury if he had used the Kuan-peng fist. But even so, it was still not something that Xiaochen could contend with. After all, his opponent had not used much of his strength just now. Lan Xiaobai escaped death. He looked at Xiaochen gratefully and stood side by side with Xiaochen. He secretly transmitted his voice to Xiaochen. Xiaochen, this man is the real blue-robed emperor. I'm afraid we have to ask Elder Qin for help. There is no rush. Let's investigate this person first. I suspect that they did not just send a blue-robed emperor. Lan Xiaobai saw that Xiaochen had only retreated 100 steps and dissipated the force of his attack. Xiaochen was still very lively, and it was impossible to tell how severely injured he was. Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. The blue-robed emperor exclaimed, quickly guessing Xiaochen's identity. Xiaochen looked straight at the other party. However, he extended his spiritual sense into the surroundings, capturing every detail of the other party's warship. Suddenly his heart skipped a beat. On the King-grade warship, he saw the injured Yao Chun whispering to the 4 great Grandmaster-level martial sages. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he said, "Since you know my identity, you still dare to block my way. Does the Xianshui sect not care about the Bushan Palace?" The blue-robed emperor smiled and said, "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. As long as I don't really kill you, this place is very far away. What can the Bushan Palace do to our Xianshui sect? We only want a Holy Spirit vein for your congratulatory gift. Furthermore, we will compensate you with 10 million black astral coins." When Lan Xiaobai heard this, he mocked. "You want to buy a Holy Spirit vein with just 10 million black astral coins? Are the people of the Xianshui sect crazy?" Holy Spirit veins were the foundation of the 9 ranks of the great families. Without a Holy Spirit vein, the name of the 9 ranks of the great families could not be spoken of. If they were auctioned in the starry heavens, the starting price would be 20 million black astral coins. Up until now, the Xianshui sect only had one Holy Spirit vein left. Furthermore, it was very old. If the Xianshui sect did not find a new Holy Spirit vein soon, it would fall to a rank 8 sect. When the sect master passed away, and the blue-robed emperor no longer existed, the Xianshui sect would fall by another grade, becoming a rank 7 sect. Hence, the blue-robed emperor was very interested in the Holy Spirit vein on Xiaochen. Even at the risk of offending the Bushan Palace, they wanted to snatch it. As for 10 million black astral coins, that was just a joke, equivalent to charity. The blue-robed quasi-emperor did not get angry. Wind and clouds fluttered behind him, radiating a powerful aura. He looked at Xiaochen and said, "Azure Dragon King, what do you think? I believe you are a smart person and know how to choose." Xiaochen retorted rudely, "Are you joking? The Holy Spirit vein is a congratulatory gift from the Kunlun continent's prime, Emperor Wu, the Fox King. You are just an insignificant blue-robed emperor, and you actually dare to make a move to snatch the treasure of a prime? I think you must be tired of living. In that case, you are not willing." The blue-robed emperor's face sank, and killing intent brewed in his body. Then, a strong aura pressed down on Xiaochen and Xiaochen. "Do your best. If even an insignificant blue-robed emperor like you can bully me, there is no need for me to go to Heavenly Star Island." Xiaochen took out the blue dragon medallion and instantly forced back the blue-robed emperor's aura. Even the wind and clouds behind him moved back quickly. With one glance, it looked like half the sky was fleeing miserably from this medallion. Lan Xiaobai immediately felt the pressure on him lessen significantly. He could not help sending a voice projection. "Xiaochen, unexpectedly, you have such a treasure. If you can suppress his aura, then with Yifeng and you, there is no need to fear him with the 4 of us working together. There's no need. Let the 2 of them stay on the Dragon's Gate's warship. This fellow is delaying for time. Let's see what he is up to." The moment the blue dragon medallion containing the Qing Emperor's saber light appeared, it was like the Qing Emperor had descended, its boundless might spreading out. The Qing Emperor was a distant legend, a settled epic poem, a legend of songs. Even after 10,000 years, he remained immortal. He was the strongest person of the post-ancient era, unrivaled in all directions. Time would not erase his legend. It would only continue to spread, becoming an epic legend. Under the pressure of the blue dragon medallion, the blue-robed emperor actually took 3 steps back before he could stabilize himself. The winds and clouds behind him turned chaotic. No matter how hard he tried, they would scatter like smoke at any moment. Blue dragon medallion. The blue-robed emperor was startled. He had not expected Xiaochen to have such a treasure. His expression sank. The blue-robed emperor thought to himself, "I have to deal with Xiaochen quickly. Otherwise, if my aura continues to weaken, I will not be able to do anything to this brat. Humph. No matter how many treasures you have, they are still insufficient before absolute strength." Mountain collapsing imprint. The blue-robed emperor moved his hands, and a clump of light surged between his 10 fingers, forming a golden mountain collapsing imprint. At a glance, it looked like he was dragging a mountain. The blue-robed emperor shouted, and the mountain collapsing imprint pressed towards Xiaochen. Boom. Before the mountain collapsing imprint arrived, the seawater under Xiaochen and Lan Xiaobai suddenly sank, forming a huge, semicircular pit on the vast sea. What a strong force! Furthermore, this was under the situation where Xiaochen's aura was suppressed. If not for the blue dragon medallion's suppression, the seawater would have turned upside down. Xiaochen was astonished. The blue-robed emperor is indeed the blue-robed emperor. Even though the blue-robed emperor has not reached small perfection yet, he still has an absolute advantage in terms of strength. I will hold him back. You find an opportunity to make a move. Although Xiaochen was astonished, he did not feel any fear. Instead, he felt excited. A long time ago, the blue-robed emperor could crush Xiaochen to death with one finger. To Xiaochen, the blue-robed emperor was an unreachable existence. Now he faced the blue-robed emperor head-on. Although Xiaochen sighed at the other party's strength, he no longer felt like he could not defeat him. With a flip of his hand, the lunar shadow saber appeared in Xiaochen's left hand. Then he grasped the saber hilt with his right hand. With the help of the blue dragon medallion, Xiao Chen's aura soared, soaring into the sky. Lan Xiaobai's figure flashed, disappearing into the void. He left no trace behind, moving at the edge of the void. The mountain collapsing imprint arrived in the blink of an eye, looking like a mountain. It gave off a bright light, containing the power of the heavenly laws as it pressed down on Xiao Chen. Bang! In the time it took for a spark to fly, a saber light flashed. The bright moon came out with the saber, and night suddenly descended. The saber light shattered, and Xiao Chen was knocked back again. However, the bright moon remained, hanging alone in the sky, merging with the night, appearing perfect and flawless. The blue-robed quasi-emperor showed a sullen expression. He had not held back in this mountain-collapsing imprint. However, given the night sky and the bright moon, even if the other party was still holding back, he would still be able to fight. Blue Dragon Medallion. The blue-robed emperor narrowed his eyes and noticed the azure medallion floating in the air. If not for this medallion, given his aura, how could Xiao Chen's mysterious phenomenon exist? Xiao Chen broke out of the surging seawater. His body moved like a roaming dragon. Saber hums rang out endlessly in the surroundings, forming countless saber winds as he sped along the surface. The blue-robed emperor stepped forward and threw a palm wind. A chain of mountains formed in the air, forming an encirclement of mountains. When the blue-robed emperor threw a palm strike, the mountains roared and knocked back Xiao Chen's saber strike again. Xiao Chen somersaulted twice in the air. Then, he wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and revealed a smile. Xiao Chen now had a clear understanding of his physical body. After refining the half-drop of dragon marrow, his peak rank 4 sage body had already surpassed some of the physical bodies of the blue-robed emperor. This gave Xiao Chen the capital to face the blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen attacked over and over again, but he could not truly deal a blow to Xiao Chen. The Xianshui sect disciples and great grandmaster-level martial sages all felt somewhat horrified when they saw this. How strong exactly was Xiao Chen? Unexpectedly, the blue-robed emperor could not take him down quickly. Mountain collapsing imprint. Mountain flipping imprint. Mountain coiling imprint. After failing to take down Xiao Chen after a few attacks, the blue-robed emperor's expression turned even more sullen. Then he moved his hands and sent out 3 large imprints in a row. Each imprint caused the sea to churn, containing boundless horrifying energy. The huge pits in the sea formed 3 incomparably huge whirlpools that soared into the sky. After 3 consecutive attacks, Xiao Chen did not waste time or use any techniques to break them. The difference in strength was too great. Xiao Chen only sent out a screen of sabers and defended with all his might. Then he used his physical body to endure the attacks. Xiao Chen did not use his best moves: Flawless 4 Seasons, Flawless Bright Moon, and Subduing Dragon Profound Slash. He had no intention of using his killing move, Instant of Glory, either. These killing moves could be used against martial artists of the same level, or against martial artists whose strength was 1 or 2 times lower, and could achieve a one-hit kill effect. However, against a prepared blue-robed emperor, even if Xiao Chen managed to injure the other party, it would be a minor injury, meaningless. Chapter 10:16. Hence, either Xiao Chen did not use it, or when he used it, he had to make the other party bleed and receive a true blow. The blue-robed emperor could not help feeling frustrated when he saw Xiao Chen wiping the blood from the corner of his lips. It was clear that Xiao Chen was severely injured, but he managed to break out of the water again with no decrease in his fighting spirit. Damn it! If I did not have the blue dragon medallion, and this brat's physical body was slightly weaker, I would have been able to severely injure him in one move. Whoosh! Just as the blue-robed emperor was feeling frustrated, a sword light suddenly lit up on his right. The sword light was resplendent and dazzling, lighting up space. With a thought, the blue-robed emperor sensed the danger of this sword. So he quickly dodged without even looking. However, the blue-robed emperor did not know that there was a spot of cold light behind him. It was silent, without any killing chi or light. The instant the blue-robed emperor dodged, it tore through his protective heavenly sage laws and stabbed into his back. Blood flowed out, and the force in the sword burst out. However, the sword could not stab in any further after just 1 centimeter. This startled Lan Xiaobai. He quickly let go and retreated, wanting to flee to the edge of space. How dare you injure me? You are seeking death. The blue-robed emperor was enraged. He had not expected a junior to injure him. He turned around and sent out a palm strike in anger. Before Lan Xiaobai could flee, the palm strike landed on him. Pussy-eye. Lan Xiaobai vomited a large mouthful of blood. This palm strike shattered half of his bones, severely injuring him. On the warship, Yu Chenxiyu and Yifeng quickly descended and caught Lan Xiaobai. Then they infused quintessence into him to stabilize his injuries. Instant of glory. The instant the blue-robed emperor turned around and sent Lan Xiaobai flying, Xiao Chun, who had been passively defending, finally moved. His green robe and long hair fluttered in the wind as he spun in circles. The bright moon was dull. The peach blossoms stretched for hundreds of miles, the scorching summer sun, the falling leaves, the pure white snow, and the flickering shadow of a dragon. As the saber spun, a mysterious phenomenon appeared with each turn. Thousands of wondrous scenes and thousands of sceneries appeared endlessly in the world, layering over each other. Finally, when Xiao Chun swung his saber, he swung his saber. 10,000 kinds of lights gathered in the saber, forming the brightest saber light, known as glory. It only blossomed in that instant, but it gathered for an eternity. The blue-robed emperor, who was about to step forward and slap Lan Xiaobai to death, felt his heart sink as he sensed an extremely dangerous aura. Just as he was about to fly away, he suddenly discovered that the space around him seemed to have been locked down. Thousands of different sceneries shone upon him, locking down the space around him. Even with the strength of the blue-robed emperor, he needed a second to break free. But this 1 second, this moment of glory, was enough to heavily injure him, who was caught off guard. Bang! The saber light chopped down on the blue-robed emperor's body. Thousands of lights exploded, materializing a vast and glorious scene. There was a bright moon exploding, spring thunder roaring, a blazing sun falling to the ground, and many other mysterious phenomena. From the very beginning, the blue-robed emperor, who had been suppressing Xiao Chun, got knocked back 1 kilometer by this saber strike before Yao Chun and the others' incredulous expressions. When the blue-robed emperor fell into the water, a towering pillar of water shot up, looking majestic and spectacular. How can this be? His saber strike actually sent the blue-robed emperor flying. Yao Chun exclaimed in shock, gaping wide. The great grandmaster-level martial sages behind Xiao Chun, who were busy with other matters, were also stunned by this scene, forgetting what they were doing. When Xiao Chun swung his saber, instant of glory knocked back the blue-robed emperor. Damn it! I must kill you today. No matter who comes to the Bushan Palace, they will not be able to save you. Blue Dragon King die. After being knocked back, the blue-robed emperor entered a berserk state. He unleashed his full strength, no longer holding anything back. He even used a secret technique to temporarily raise his strength. The wind and clouds that had been suppressed by the blue dragon token and could not gathered behind the blue-robed emperor. You are just a blue-robed emperor, who is not even at small perfection, yet you dare to say such arrogant words? Get down! A cold snort resounded in the sky. It was Elder Qin, who had been quietly observing the situation, finally making a move. His figure flickered, and he blocked the leaping blue-robed emperor. Great perfection, blue-robed emperor. Horror flashed on the blue-robed old man's face. Before he could turn around, Elder Qin knocked him back with one move. His injuries worsened, and he could not help vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Elder Qin turned around and stretched out his hand towards the water. A formless energy turned into a palm and reached into the bottom of the sea. After a while he pulled. Bang! Seawater splashed everywhere. Elder Qin pulled out a ferocious sea beast with the upper body of an ox and the lower body of an octopus with many tentacles. The beast's tentacles slapped the water continuously. Every time it did so, it carried a lot of force. Bang! Bang! The sea shook and waves rose. When Xiao Chun saw this, he felt some lingering fear. This was probably another trump card that the Xianshui sect had prepared. Based on the aura of this spirit beast, it was comparable to the blue-robed emperors. Blood leaked out of the mouths of the 4 great grandmaster-level martial sages behind Yao Chun. They said in horror, "The sect protecting spirit beast is out of control. Let's go." Yao Chen said helplessly. Then he controlled the King-grade warship and left quickly. The 10-odd Xianshui sect warships, which had been charging over ferociously, fled in all directions. The blue-robed emperor, who had fallen into the water, did not appear again. No one knew where he had gone. Elder Qin was still fighting with that sea beast in the air. Bloody wounds appeared all over Elder Qin's body. That sea beast could not retaliate at all. When everything calmed down, there was only a huge corpse floating on the surface of the sea. Everyone on the Dragon's Gate's warship heaved a sigh of relief. Kim Tae-ho went down happily. Then, he and Lord Jiu started to dissect the sea beast's corpse. This was a bona fide rank 10 spirit beast. The materials on its body were very valuable. With a thought, Xiao Chen asked for all the spirit beast blood that Kim Tae-ho had collected. Then he returned to the warship to check on Lan Xiaobai's injuries. Haha. I won't die. You don't cry. Half of Lan Xiaobai's body was already bandaged with medicinal liquid. However, the smile on his face did not diminish. Xiao Chen took a look. Lan Xiaobai's injuries were indeed severe. However, they were not life-threatening. After recuperating for a while, he would recover. Hey, are you alright? You asked quickly when she saw Xiao Chen arrive. The others also asked out of concern. However, when they saw Xiao Chen endure several attacks from the blue-robed emperor, Xiao Chen's expression froze. Xiao Chen smiled, indicating that he was fine. Everyone was astonished. Before Xiao Chen could explain too much, Xiao Chen noticed that Elder Qin's complexion did not look good. He walked to the side and asked, Elder Qin, are you injured? When Elder Qin heard that, he smiled and said, How could a small perfection blue-robed emperor injure me? It is your problem that has not ended. Look over there. Elder Qin's eyesight was better than Xiao Chen's. 10 kilometers in front of him, Xiao Chen could only see a vast mist. He could not make out anything. Xiao Chen extended his spiritual sense in a straight line, until he was 50 kilometers away. Finally, Xiao Chen saw a figure walking unhurriedly in the direction of the Dragon's Gate's warship. That is the Xianshui sect's sect master. Xiao Chen immediately recognized this person. It was the Xianshui sect's sect master, whom he had met once before. For the sake of this Holy Spirit vein, the sect master actually disregarded his status and personally came. With a flip of Xiao Chen's hand, the blue dragon medallion appeared once more. Xiao Chen's expression turned cold. If the other party really disregarded his status and came to suppress him, Xiao Chen could only make the saber light in the blue dragon medallion reappear in the world, preventing the other party from returning. Hey, he stopped and started running back, Elder Qin said in surprise as his expression changed. As the distance was too far, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was rather weak. He could only make out some blurry images. The Xianshui sect's sect master fled in panic. It seemed like some horrifying existence was attacking him. Xiao Chen, come with me to take a look. This was what Xiao Chen intended to do. He pushed off the ground and followed Elder Qin into the clouds. Elder Qin, who was leading the way, said softly, The battle between Emperor Wu will affect too many people. We should just watch from afar, and not get involved. Xiao Chen deeply agreed. The Xianshui sect's sect master, who had just become a blue-robed emperor, already suppressed Xiao Chen to the point of suffocation in terms of strength. Thousands of martial techniques, and tens of thousands of saber techniques, were nothing in front of such a powerful force. If one's strength had not reached a certain level, it would be no different from bullshit if one wanted to use skill to overcome strength. The insignificant blue-robed emperor was already like that. It was easy to imagine how horrifying the battle between Emperor Wu would be. However, the situation before them was very different from what the two expected. The Xianshui sect's sect master kept running, moving very fast. There were several times when it tried to tear through space, but it was forced back by a powerful force. There seemed to be an extremely horrifying existence under the sea, chasing the Xianshui sect's sect master all the way to Profound Water Island, where the Xianshui sect was located, and did not stop. Xiao Chen watched from a distance. The moment the Xianshui sect's sect master entered the Xianshui sect, he immediately activated the formation protecting the island. The surrounding islands lit up with spiritual light. Layers of formations gave off a bright light, forming a complicated formation. They formed a complicated formation, and the illusory figures of 12 top-notch spirit beasts were guarding the formation's nodes. Space was folded layer by layer. There was a formation within a formation. A folded space was a small world. It could be said to be boundlessly vast and boundless. This formation had already completely infused the laws of space into it. This was a formation that the Xianshui sect would activate only at a moment of life and death. Once this formation was activated, countless astral cores would be used. One inferior grade astral core was worth 1,000 black astral coins. That was to say, the Xianshui sect had lost more than 1,000,000 black astral coins. Furthermore, this number continued to increase. This is the 72 Spirit Universe formation. It comes from the Zodiac Hall, and is widely known in the heavenly starry ocean. Once it is used, space becomes countless, becoming a small world. It can even block sovereign martial emperors. Elder Qin was very knowledgeable. He continued to explain to Xiaoqin. However, the Xianshui sect's formation only has 12 spirit beasts. It would not be a problem to block the peak minor, Heavenly Emperor Emperor Wu. However, it would pale in comparison to a greater Heavenly Emperor, not to mention a sovereign martial emperor. Xiaoqin was not someone who had never seen a formation before. The formation outside the Blue Dragon Palace not only locked down space, but even controlled time. It was incredible and much stronger than this. Boom. As the two watched from a distance, they conversed in soft voices. Suddenly, a palace appeared on Profound Water Island. This palace was shaped like a fish. As it soared into the air, it turned into a dragon when the wind blew. A prime's emperor's might spread out in all directions. The palace was azure in color, and gave off the horrifying might of a supreme prime. As this palace descended from the sky, the layers of space crumbled and shattered like rotten wood. Chapter 1017. The images of the 12 peak spirit beasts already looked solid, each guarding a corner. However, it was of no use. Anguish wails rang out everywhere. When the 12 spirit beast phantoms were all dead, the blue palace suddenly sat down. In an instant, the huge mystic water island was destroyed, the city collapsed, and countless towering buildings collapsed one by one. The primordial emperor treasure Neptune Palace. Xiaoqin showed a slightly startled expression. He now understood who attacked. He had clearly seen that the Neptune Palace had not completely descended. Instead, it hovered above Profound Water Island. If this was confirmed, the entire Mystic Water Island would probably sink into the ocean. The ancient mutated beast, the thousand-feathered snake, floated to the surface. Yao Yin stood on it, looking at Xiaoqin from afar and smiling faintly. Then he withdrew the Neptune Palace and sank back into the sea. When everything calmed down, the Xianshui sect's sect master looked at the rubble of Profound Water Island. The Xianshui sect's sect master paled, his eyes filled with horror. Furthermore, the other party had held back. If the other party had not, the consequences would have been dire. Such a startling commotion attracted the cultivators and factions within 500 kilometers. When they saw this scene, they were all shocked. The Merfolk race's empress made a move. How tragic! The entire Profound Water Island has turned into rubble. A primordial emperor treasure is really unblockable. I heard that the 8 Merfolk Emperor Wu sacrificed themselves to suppress and assimilate the item spirit of the Neptune Palace. Only then did this empress gain complete control over the primordial emperor treasure. Together with other emperor-grade secret treasures, she can fight against a sovereign martial emperor. This Xianshui sect's sect master is targeting the Blue Dragon King, trying to snatch away the other party's holy spirit vein. Empress Yao Yin probably made a move because of this. I believe that this is to intimidate others. The Blue Dragon King has valuable treasures on him. Many people are eyeing him. If others want to make a move, they will have to consider the consequences of the Xianshui sect. However, the effects might not be good. The chaotic demonic sea is still a deterrent. However, once they enter the heavenly starry ocean, it will be hard to say. The strong might of the primordial emperor treasure nearly caused the Xianshui sect to suffer a calamity. For a while, everyone discussed this matter without end. In the sky, Xiaoqin was greatly moved by this. Carrying a precious treasure on him was indeed a little too big of a target. Yao Yin might be able to make a move once, but there was still a long way to go. If a few stronger blue-robed emperors came, the Dragon's Gate's warship would be in grave danger. Even if this group of people had extraordinary origins and were frightening, there had never been a lack of people who would risk their lives for great treasures. Not to mention, there were also Neptune's old subordinates who were preparing some unknown plan. This journey was much more dangerous than he had imagined. Xiao Chun, the Empress will fight for you once. I'm afraid the road ahead will be much smoother, Elder Qin said softly. Xiao Chun smiled but did not reply. After thinking for a while he said, Elder, I have a decision. After hearing Xiao Chun's decision, Elder Qin's expression changed. After a while he said, that is good as well. It is a pretty good choice. Seeing Elder Qin nod in agreement, Xiao Chun relaxed a little and heaved a sigh of relief. After the two returned, they did not mention anything about what they had seen. Xiao Chun stopped cultivating and started to do something that he had already thought of long ago. He took out the rank 10 spirit beast blood that he had obtained from Dabao earlier. Then he took out many extremely precious superior grade astral cores and crushed them, turning them into crystalline powder that entered the spirit blood like starlight. Without even blinking, Xiao Chun crushed the priceless superior grade astral cores one by one, turning them into powder and entering the spirit blood. Only after the spirit blood turned completely golden did Xiao Chun stop. Then he took out a brush and paper. The paper was made from beast skin that contained spiritual energy and was cooked using a special method. The dark blue brush was even more precious. Xiao Chun had bought both of them during the Haotian sect's shopping spree. That was right. Xiao Chun was preparing to write talismans for laying formations. Most of the reason he had purchased so many astral cores was to lay formations. A conferred land was like establishing a sect. How could it not be guarded by formations? There were many formations in the compendium of cultivation. However, Xiao Chun did not know many. He only knew an illusion formation and the ninth heaven's thunder formation, which he had once used in the Xiao clan. As Xiao Chun did not have much time to learn, and the situation was rather urgent, he did not intend to use other formations. The ninth heaven's thunder formation was not weak. All Xiao Chun needed to do was increase the number of materials needed to lay the formation, and change the talismans he was writing to the talisman that the Thunder Immortal Ancestor left behind. A brand new formation would definitely surpass Xiao Chun's expectations. 9 sets of thunder formations in a chain would be sufficient to block the blue-robed Emperor's invasion. As for blocking Emperor Wu, it would be too much of a stretch for Xiao Chun, a formation master who had only just started cultivating. After taking out a brush and paper, Xiao Chun burned his magic energy and started writing talismans. Although he had not written in a long time, the talismans he was writing were the purple lightning talismans in his sea of consciousness. Without much thought, Xiao Chun could complete them in one go. The tip of the brush gave off a bright light, and lightning flickered. The light on Xiao Chun's forehead could be clearly seen through Neptune's headscarf. For 7 consecutive days, Xiao Chun locked himself in his room, and wrote a total of 3,000 talismans, enough to lay 81 sets of the ninth heaven's thunder formation. Initially, he had only planned to refine 9 sets, but on second thought, he felt that it was better to be safe. 81 formations were interconnected. Even a peak blue-robed emperor would have to think twice if he wanted to take the risk and enter. Ignoring the fatigue on his face, Xiao Chun took out a pen and paper, and wrote down the key points of the 9 heavens thunder formation. The talismans were all completed, and all of them contained magic power. Now, as long as someone grasped these talismans and the key to setting up the formation, they would be able to do so. By leaving the blood essence on the talisman and following the steps on it, one could easily form a large formation. Calling Lan Xiaobai and Kim Tae-ho in, Zhang Xian imparted to Lan Xiaobai the talisman used to set up the formation, and the key to it. Given Lan Xiaobai's talent, he was able to comprehend most of it with just a single explanation. Lan Xiaobai and Kim Tae-ho showed suspicious expressions. They felt that Xiao Chun seemed to have something to say. After dealing with the Xianshui sect's people that day, Xiao Chun had not said a word, locking himself in his room. Clearly something was wrong. Before the two could ask, Xiao Chun spoke of his decision. I intend to separate from you for now. On the trip to Heavenly Star Island, You will take my king conferral medallion and official documents. It will take at most 1 or 2 years, at least half a year. After I cultivate to the blue-robed emperor, I will reunite with you." The moment Xiao Chun said that, Lan Xiaobai and Kim Taeho revealed shocked expressions. Clearly, the impact of these words was too great. Lan Xiaobai was very clever. After thinking about it, he guessed Xiao Chun's thoughts. He nodded and said, "You are worried that you are too big of a target and will bring us danger?" Most of it is like that. However, there is also a small part that is because of me. The danger of this trip surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. They had only just crossed the chaotic demonic sea when they met with the blue-robed emperor's ambush. Even the Xianshui sect's emperor Wu made a move. Of course, the Xianshui sect's emperor Wu was a special case in most situations. Most Emperor Wu would not disregard his status to make a move for a Holy Spirit vein. The Xianshui sect was the sect's Holy Spirit vein. It was about to run out, so they needed to find a replacement. Hence, they had no choice but to make this move. However, this was just the beginning. After entering the heavenly starry ocean, they did not know what kind of danger they would run into. Perhaps there might even be an ambush near Heavenly Star Island. As long as Xiao Chun left temporarily, the people eyeing the treasure would naturally not make a move on Lan Xiaobai and the others. Lan Xiaobai and the others had extraordinary backgrounds. They were of noble birth in the Azura race. Without sufficient benefits, even the blue-robed emperor would not be foolish enough to offend this group of people. Xiao Chun split into 2 groups. Kim Taeho and the others would go to Heavenly Star Island first, leaving them to develop Heavenly Star Island. As for Xiao Chun, he would hide his cultivation and identity. The other group would go in another direction to search for the Despair Throne. At the same time, he would focus on cultivating and reach the level of the blue-robed emperor before coming back to regroup. Since Xiao Chun had the treasure but could not protect it, he had to keep a low profile. This was the norm of the cultivation world. After the 2 heard what Xiao Chun said, they had no objections. This was indeed the best plan at the moment. Seeing that the 2 agreed, Xiao Chun called over Yu Chenxi and the others. Then he searched through the universe ring and found some good secret treasures that he had obtained from killing others. Then he gave them all to the 4. Then, of the 38 peak spirit veins on him, he kept 10 and handed over the rest. He also gave the king medallion to Lan Xiaobai as well. "Senior brother Xiao Chun, you can leave in peace. We will definitely help you develop Heavenly Star Island." Jin Lin, who worshipped Xiao Chun, consoled him. "When you return, I will definitely not leave you with a mess to clean up," Lan Xiaobai said seriously. The others all gave Xiao Chun their blessings, not giving Xiao Chun any pressure. If they were in his shoes, they would know that Xiao Chun was not in a good mood right now. Before reaching his conferred land, Xiao Chun, who had just been conferred the Blue Dragon King, would definitely feel dissatisfied. With this group of people around, Heavenly Star Island would definitely be able to develop. There was no need to say anything pretentious. Xiao Chun performed a cupped fist salute and said, "I'll take my leave first. When I return, I will definitely be the blue-robed emperor." In the night, Xiao Chun moved very quickly, leaping into the vast sea and sinking into the water. Half a month later, the 7 heroes of the dragon gathered together. They had already learned that Xiao Chun was not on the Dragon's Gate's warship, and that he was nowhere to be found. They were all furious. The 7 of them worked together to set up a huge formation. Not only did they mobilize all the forces they could, but they also mobilized all the forces they could. They even used a lot of money to befriend many pirates. Even experts with the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor were invited out. The 7 of them planned to wipe out their previous humiliation by blocking Xiao Chun at a place he had to pass on his way to Heavenly Star Island. They wanted to teach him an unforgettable lesson, to show him the consequences of offending the 7 heroes of the dragon. Who could have imagined that after spending so much time and effort, they would not be able to find Xiao Chun in the end? It was like they had been holding back a lot of energy. When they saw that the enemy was approaching, they could vent it out. Who could have imagined that they would suddenly receive news that they had to hold back their anger? They had no choice but to do so. Damn it! This Xiao Chun is really crafty. He does not even want his conferred land. The purple-robed youth said angrily. "Chu Yu, what should we do now?" Xiao Chen is not around. There is no value in making a move on the people on the Dragon's Gate's warship. Another of the 7 heroes of the dragon asked Huan Qiyu. The others immediately looked at the black-robed Huan Qiyu as well. Qiyu, what should we do now? With Xiao Chen not around, there is no value in making a move on the people on the Dragon's Gate's warship. Another of the 7 heroes of the dragon asked Huan Qiyu. Chapter 10:18. Huan Qiyu said after some thought, "This Xiao Chen is indeed not easy to deal with. Even though he was conferred king, he does not seem arrogant at all. Instead, he is very cautious. However, don't worry. He will definitely return to Heavenly Star Island. He is someone who wants to re-establish his sect and restore the Dragon's Gate. He absolutely will not give up on Heavenly Star Island. For now, we will send people to guard the vicinity of Heavenly Star Island. At the same time, we will bribe the surrounding factions, not giving Heavenly Star Island a chance to develop. When he returns, we will denounce him." The other 6 did not have any good ideas, so they could only listen to Huan Qiyu's arrangements. As for the large sum of money spent on handing over the loose cultivators, it would all be for naught. They were not the only ones disappointed. Several of the blue-robed emperors in the entire western seaside. Most of the congratulatory gifts that Xiao Chen received during his conferment of king would not catch Emperor Wu's eye. However, to the blue-robed emperor, they were a piece of extremely tempting fat meat. However, Xiao Chen had vanished without a trace. The fat meat that was about to fall into the blue-robed emperor's hands vanished just like that. Lung Xiaofan, who received the news immediately, felt extremely furious. He had not expected Xiao Chen to give up on his conferred land and leave just like that. However, Lung Xiaofan hid all his emotions in his heart, not showing any change in his expression. He paced around slowly, thinking of countermeasures. However, the heavenly starry ocean was boundlessly vast. In terms of size, it was no smaller than the Kunlun continent. Aside from the 4 clear sea regions, there were many other sea regions of various sizes. Even beyond the heavenly starry ocean, there were even vaster sea regions. Since ancient times, no one had been able to completely figure out the secrets of the sea. Trying to find a person was like searching for a needle in a haystack. This phrase was no exaggeration. Behind Lung Xiaofan, a beautiful girl slept amid a cluster of flowers. Her skin was as white as snow rosy. As she lay among the flowers seemed to pale in comparison. If Xiao Chen were here, he would definitely recognize this girl. It was Princess Qin, who had been sleeping in Neptune's palace for 10,000 years. Find him. I have to find him. Lung Xiaofan's eyes shone brightly. His expression was firm, and he had a determination that no one could shake. Back to Kim Taeho, Lan Xiaobai, and the others. After drifting along the ocean for a month, they finally arrived near Heavenly Star Island. The conditions were much worse than expected. The surrounding islands had already been divided up by other nearby forces. The spiritual qi on the island was thin. It was obvious that the spirit veins that once existed had all been taken away, leaving only a wasteland for them. Several malicious gazes came from the subsidiary islands, staring at this warship with the Dragon's Gate's insignia. However, the people on the ship did not care. Before they came, they were already prepared to accept the challenge, so they were not afraid of these people. Kim Taeho stood at the bow of the warship and looked around. Then he looked at the map in his hand and smiled. Not bad. This location is pretty good. We can open up trade routes in all directions. We do not have to worry about being sealed off. Lan Xiaobai took out the king medallion and fiddled with it. Then he muttered, I wonder where that fellow went. He wants to reach the blue-robed emperor realm within 2 years. That is too shocking. Fatso smiled and said, Don't overthink. That fellow always surprises people. He might be having fun somewhere right now. Quickly, go and prepare for the handover. This fat lord can't wait to show off. Lan Xiaobai smiled, and the group flew off the Dragon's Gate's warship, officially stepping onto this secret-filled Heavenly Star Island. Heavenly Star Island, Heavenly Starry Ocean. Were these names really a coincidence? Why did Xiao Chen think that the 3 holy masters chose this island for him, and not the Thunder King? The results of many things were often unexpected. 2 years later, when Xiao Chen returned, he discovered what kind of wealth this desolate island had given him. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen was not as happy as Fatso made him out to be. In fact, he looked somewhat miserable. Xiao Chen sat weakly on a wooden plank, drifting in a strange sea region. He had no idea where he was. Ao Jiao revealed herself and stood guard by Xiao Chen's side, preventing the sea beasts from attacking. Then she smiled at him and said, "Let's see if you still dare to speak such lofty words about reaching the blue-robed emperor realm within 2 years. Right now you would not be a match for any martial monarch." Xiao Chen revealed a bitter smile on his pale face. "How would I know that the item spirit of Neptune's crown is still around? Furthermore, it still hates the blue dragon martial spirit so much." Right now, Xiao Chen was in a miserable state, too miserable to look at. After parting ways with Kim Taeho and the others, Xiao Chen followed the clues Long Fei left behind, and prepared to go to a forbidden land of the Southern Sea to obtain the Despair Throne. Originally, Xiao Chen had been traveling smoothly, cultivating at the edge of the Southern Sea. Thousands of islands dotted the sea, looking bustling and bustling. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen remembered that he still had Neptune's crown in his universe ring. Back then, after First Elder Han Qinghe interrupted him, he still had not left a mark on it. A crown-type secret treasure represented the might and aura of a monarch. It supported luck and carried the mandate of heaven. Normally, people without a sovereign bloodline could not wear such secret treasures. Such secret treasures had always been rare. The benefits were obvious. They did not have high requirements on the user's cultivation. Xiao Chen thought that, as an emperor-grade secret treasure, Neptune's crown should have some other special effects aside from increasing the might and luck of a monarch. After leaving a mark on it and wearing it, it was as he expected. With Neptune's crown on, Xiao Chen vaguely felt a strong might spread throughout his body. The vast ocean under his feet was his territory. Within a breath, Xiao Chen could flip rivers and seas. His anger and laughter could kick up huge waves. A domain. The special effect of Neptune's crown was actually a domain of the ocean that spanned 500 kilometers. As long as there was an ocean under his feet, the area within 500 kilometers would be his domain. He would be the king of this world. As long as anyone entered, they would suffer from severe restrictions. That person would only be able to bring out 70 to 80% of their strength. Of course, cultivators with domains and powerful experts like Emperor Wu would not be affected. Aside from that, the crown could control the seawater within 500 kilometers at will, suppressing and taming strong spirit beasts. How strong was a domain? It was an existence that could not be comprehended. Even now, Xiao Chen had no idea how to use his saber domain. After wearing the crown and exhausting law energy, Xiao Chen could immediately form a strong domain, nearly doubling his strength. This domain even gave Xiao Chen the confidence to truly fight the blue-robed emperor and defeat him. However, just as Xiao Chen rejoiced, the item spirit in Neptune's crown woke up. When it sensed the blue dragon martial spirit in Xiao Chen's body, it immediately turned into an evil spirit. The will of thunder entered Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. The domain flowed backward and filled every meridian in his body. Then, before Xiao Chen could react, it exploded. Luck was ethereal, changing unpredictably. This crown also contained Neptune's great luck. Xiao Chen's Blue Dragon King's luck clashed with it, forming bad luck and bad luck. This explosion injured Xiao Chen's origin energy. The resplendent purple lightning talisman dimmed and became indistinct. Even his great perfection saber soul scattered in his sea of consciousness. The domain energy that spread throughout Xiao Chen's body injured his meridians. The law energy in his dantian also showed visible damage. If Xiao Chen could not recover from his injuries, he would not be able to circulate law energy. His cultivation immediately fell out of martial sage. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's will had the immortal attribute. Otherwise, this explosion would have destroyed his entire sea of consciousness, and his head would have exploded in an instant. The only benefit was that the item spirit in Neptune's crown was no longer present. Thus there was no more bad luck. In the future, when Xiao Chen used it, something like this would not happen again. However, now that Xiao Chen's cultivation had fallen to martial monarch, He could not use it even if he wanted to. After the item's spirit exploded, Xiaochen fell unconscious. When he woke up, he did not know where he was. If one ran into an ocean current in the sea, it was possible to drift for hundreds of thousands of kilometers in one day. Unfortunately, Ao Jiao told Xiaochen that he did run into an ocean current and drifted with it for 3 days. Xiaochen was completely lost in this vast sea. However, Xiaochen was not in a rush. Although his cultivation had fallen, his physical body remained. 5 Dragon Force was sufficient to fight a Grandmaster-level martial sage. Right now, Xiaochen was only in a rather weak state. After resting for a few days, his complexion would recover. There was no need to worry about his safety. Xiaochen's injuries were rather complicated. His great perfection saber soul scattered, his will weakened, his meridians damaged, and his law energy shattered. Any one of these would be a bolt out of the blue for other cultivators. When combined, it would be a calamity that could destroy any cultivator's future. However, to Xiaochen, the first few injuries were nothing. Xiaochen's saber soul had been in the immortal will for a long time, and was already close to immortality. As long as the saber intent in his heart was not extinguished, it would never truly scatter. Since the immortal will was called immortal, as long as Xiaochen was alive, it would not disappear. The damage to his meridians was a small matter for his physical body. As long as Xiaochen slowly polished himself, he could recover from this. Furthermore, he would be even stronger than before. The only problem was the shattering of his law energy. This made Xiaochen frown somewhat. He heard from Ao Jiao that he needed an extremely rare medicinal pill to recover. Chapter 10:19. There seems to be another ship coming in front, Ao Jiao said. Xiaochen did not look at it, only answering casually. Over the past few days, many large ships passed by him. However, after a few glances, they all passed by, ignoring him. Xiaochen was not in a rush. Since there were ships passing by, he just needed to drift slowly in the direction of these ships. He would eventually find a place with people. This ship seems to be heading for you. I'll enter the immortal spirit ring first. Ao Jiao's figure flashed, turning into a beam of light and entering the immortal spirit ring. Xiaochen sighed softly and looked up. This ship was completely purple, made of purple cloud rock. It was huge but strangely streamlined. It was a peak sage ranked ship, considered a pretty good ship. However, it could not compare to the 7-colored warship of the 7 heroes of the dragon that Xiaochen possessed. Compared to the Dragon's Gate's warship, the difference was like mud to clouds. A flag with an ancient mo embroidered on it was stuck in the bow. Mo? This surname is rather rare, Xiaochen muttered to himself. As the purple warship approached, Xiaochen heard some voices coming from the deck. Young miss, it is just an unremarkable martial monarch. Furthermore, he is significantly injured. He probably overestimated himself and failed his adventure in the Forbidden Sea. Ask him where he is going. If it is on the way, give him a ride. Young miss, there is no need to bother with this stranger. Furthermore, this trip is very important. We cannot afford any accidents. It's fine. Uncle Wang, you can ask him. A martial monarch is not a threat to us. The voices belonged to an old man and a young girl. The girl's voice was very melodious. When one heard it, it sounded like a mountain spring, very pleasing to the ear. She had to be a great beauty just from her voice. After the conversation ended, an old man who looked like a housekeeper asked rudely, "Little friend, are you going to Starry Cloud Island? If it is on the way, we can give you a ride." Xiaochen could not be bothered with this old man, so he ignored him. The other party's words were very rude. Even if he went up, he would have to listen to this person's expression. He might as well drift for a while longer. Seeing that Xiaochen ignored him, rage flashed on the old man's face. He cursed Xiaochen for not appreciating favors and withdrew. He whispered a few words to the young lady. Not long after, a beautiful figure appeared at the bow of the ship and looked at Xiaochen with surprise. Xiaochen caught a glimpse of her. She was wearing a veil, so he couldn't see her face clearly. However, his gaze stopped on her chest and didn't move away. The woman's eyes turned cold, and she quickly retreated. The ship quickly turned around and ignored Xiaochen. Hee, idiot master. When did you start to like this? You scared the girl away, didn't you? Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, giggled. However, her figure is pretty good. It is just a little bit inferior to mine. Xiaochen smiled helplessly. It seemed that it was really a misunderstanding, but he couldn't miss this ship no matter what. Xiaochen pushed off the ground with his feet and spread his arms. Then he soared like a flood dragon and landed on the deck of the ship. How dare you barge into the ship? Kill him. The old man who looked like the steward snorted coldly. Two inferior grade martial sages immediately leaped off the ship and blocked Xiaochen in midair. They revealed their killing chi and each executed a move at Xiaochen. Their attacks were cold and emotionless, surging with killing intent. One used a saber, and the other used a sword. The arm-thick heavenly sage laws behind them moved like waves, wildly absorbing the spiritual energy in the air. If Xiaochen were an ordinary martial monarch, he would die instantly under the lightning-quick attacks of these two. However, naturally, Xiaochen would not do that. His combat experience and vision were very rich. Even if he was only a martial monarch and did not use his physical body, he would not be able to defeat him. Even if he was only a martial monarch and did not use his physical body, he could still quickly find openings and easily pass through them. Before the startled gazes of everyone on the deck, Xiaochen seemed to have predicted the trajectory of the two's attacks. He waved his hands and moved like a dragon, landing directly on the deck. The feeling he gave was like the two inferior grade martial sages were like air, allowing Xiaochen to pass through them. Plop! The moment he landed on the deck, before he could stand firmly, he felt dizzy. Pain came from the damaged meridians in his body. Xiaochen's expression changed, and he fell to the ground uncontrollably. Damn it! I forgot that I am still in a weakened state, and should not be able to use force. At the very least, I have to wait for my meridians to recover before I can circulate my quintessence. The two movements just now seemed simple and unremarkable. But in the space of an inch, a powerful explosive force, accurate to the millimeter of positioning. In those few movements, not only did Xiaochen need to be highly focused, but his quintessence also needed to burst forth rapidly, exhausting a vast amount of mental energy and quintessence. In an instant, Xiaochen's old injuries were aggravated. He was already very weak in the first place, and his body needed to rest and recuperate. Originally, Uncle Wang was still immersed in the miraculous scene that Xiaochen performed earlier. When he saw Xiaochen fall flat on his face, he could not help but laugh loudly. I was wondering where an absolute genius came from. It turns out that he was just a blind cat running into a dead mouse. Capture him. Even Uncle Wang, a superior grade martial sage, could not understand what Xiaochen had demonstrated earlier, the mountain rampart technique. At first, Uncle Wang thought that it was Xiaochen, who had a startling movement technique. However, Xiaochen's subsequent performance caught him off guard. He thought to himself that he had nearly been fooled. Cassier. The moment Xiaochen flipped over, a weapon flickering with cold light pressed against his neck. The cultivators on the ship surrounded him tightly. The weapons pressed against his flesh and scratched his skin. As long as Xiaochen made any strange movements, he would be decapitated and die without a complete corpse. When Xiaochen saw such a lineup, he could not help but smile bitterly to himself. It had been so many years. Ever since Xiaochen made his debut, he had never been in such a situation, with so many people pressing their weapons against his neck. Furthermore, these were a group of martial monarchs that he did not care about at all. However, his current situation was extremely dangerous. With 10 odd weapons pressed against his neck, if the other party really wanted to kill him, even if Ao Jiao possessed his body, it would be too late. However, given Xiaochen's physical body, if these people did not use their full power, they might not be able to kill him in one strike. However, injuries on top of injuries were unavoidable. Speak honestly. Are you a member of the Lu clan? What is your purpose in waiting here? Uncle Wang did not like Xiaochen in the first place. When he saw that Xiaochen was restrained, he immediately berated him. Xiaochen looked around and casually sized up the cultivators on the ship. Aside from the 4 martial sages, the rest were all martial monarchs. He immediately guessed that this was a rank 6 clan. In the Kunlun continent, This clan would only be a third-rate faction, not worth mentioning. In the heavenly starry ocean, it would probably be an unknown small clan. Hearing the old man's question, Xiaochen replied calmly, "What purpose does old sir think a martial monarch like me can have by waiting here? I just want to ask for a free ride. Just give me a ride." "However, this old man asked you earlier. Are you deaf?" Xiaochen smiled and said, "I used my actions to answer old sir. However, old sir welcomed me with a sword and saber. I wonder what your intentions are." Xiaochen's words were flawless, without any flaws. However, Uncle Wang felt that Xiaochen had another purpose. Seeing that Xiaochen was indeed just a martial monarch, Uncle Wang waved his hand and said, "Toss him off the ship. There is no need to care about him." The group immediately put away their weapons and picked up Xiaochen. Then, they prepared to toss him into the sea without any hesitation. "Wait a moment. Since it is on the way, give him a ride. Let him leave when we reach Starry Cloud Island." That melodious voice came from the ship's hold again. The cultivators immediately stopped what they were doing and looked at Uncle Wang. Uncle Wang thought for a while. He knew that his young miss had always been kind-hearted. He sighed to himself and waved his hand. "Clean up a room in the warehouse for him to stay in. I'm warning you, you'd best stay in the room and not barge around. Otherwise, it will not be as simple as tossing you into the sea." Xiaochen performed a cupped fist salute in thanks. Right now, he indeed needed a quiet environment to recuperate. "Go in then. This is your room. If there is nothing important, don't come out." The two Mo clan cultivators led Xiaochen into the room. After giving him a warning, they quickly left. Naturally, the room that was cleaned up in the warehouse was not much better. Aside from a simple bed, it was littered with junk that had not been moved out in time. A light flashed on Xiaochen's forehead as he circulated the will of ice in his sea of consciousness. A cold wind blew, clearing the room once more. Then he stopped using the will of ice. Right now, the immortal will of thunder was indistinct and difficult to use. The only thing that Xiaochen could use freely was the will of ice that he had looked down on previously. "How is it? Are you alright?" Ao Jiao appeared in the immortal spirit ring. She asked out of concern as she held Xiaochen's wrist with one hand. The scene just now had frightened her badly. Xiaochen smiled and let Ao Jiao check his injuries. "Fortunately, I did not act rashly. Otherwise, if I really made a move, the injuries to my meridians would have been problematic." Ao Jiao withdrew her hand and heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that Xiaochen was fine, Ao Jiao returned to her normal self and joked, "Oh right. Why did you insist on boarding this warship? Did you really? How could that be? There should be a pendant under her clothes. I feel that it was refined from one of the 7 thrones." Ao Jiao exclaimed in shock. "That can't be. What a coincidence." Xiaochen said seriously, "Most likely. The 3 thrones in the cycle banner all had an intense reaction. As long as I take another look, I will be 100% sure." The 7 thrones were massacre, ruin, pain, grief, despair, and death. Now Xiaochen had collected 3: massacre, death, and ruin. He already knew the location of the despair throne. It was in a forbidden land of the southern sea. If the pendant on this girl's chest was really refined from one of the thrones, then it should be one of the grief, pain, and ruin thrones. Ao Jiao smiled and said, "That is really a change in luck. The misfortune brought by Neptune's crown is completely gone. There is no need to worry anymore." Xiaochen nodded and thought for a while. Then he said, "I'll treat my injuries first. Go out and scout out where exactly this place is in the heavenly starry ocean. Don't expose yourself." Ao Jiao smiled faintly. Then her figure flashed, turning into a bolt of lightning as she left through the crack in the door. At the same time, in the most important control room of the warship, the veiled Miss Mo and Uncle Wang were discussing the new passenger. "Uncle Wang, with your eyesight, was that person's dodging 2 killing moves a coincidence, or was it really that miraculous?" Uncle Wang smiled and said, "It was definitely just a coincidence. That kind of dodging in such a small space, the precise positioning, the skill and eyesight involved are things that even I can't do. How could an insignificant martial monarch do it?" Chapter 1020. Is that so? Hesitation flashed in Miss Mo's eyes. Then she did not linger on this topic. She said, "The Lu clan's people have not appeared yet. Tell our subordinates not to let down their guard. Before we return to Starry Cloud Island, we cannot relax. This old man has his own plans. Young miss, there is no need to worry. We have to worry. It was not easy for us to find enough cyclic meteor metal on this trip. If something happens, we will not be able to complete the City Lord's mission. At that time, the consequences will be dire. In that case, I'll tell my subordinates to pay more attention. I'll take my leave first." Uncle Wang turned around and left, leaving only Miss Mo in the control room. He frowned heavily. The scene of Xiao Chen calmly dodging appeared in his mind. A miraculous scene of Xiao Chen dodging. She muttered to herself. The confidence and sharpness on that person's face. No matter how I look at it, it does not seem like a coincidence. However, Miss Mo's expression turned cold in the blink of an eye. When she thought of Xiao Chen's frivolous gaze earlier, she no longer cared about this person. Even if he is strong, he is just a lecher. After traveling for 7 days, the injuries to Xiao Chen's meridians had mostly recovered. He could now circulate his quintessence and fight without any problems. As for Ao Jiao, she finally found out the location and name of this sea region. She also gained a better understanding of what kind of faction the Mo clan was. If she did not want to expose herself, she could only learn from the words of the cultivators on the ship. The information she obtained was not complete. However, with the sea map in Xiao Chen's hand, she still had a clear idea of where they were. This sea region was called the Shattered Cloud Sea. It was a small, independent sea region between the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea. There were 7 other similar sea regions in the vicinity. They were the Broken Cloud Sea, the Chaotic Cloud Sea, the Separated Cloud Sea, the Heavenly Cloud Sea, the Connected Cloud Sea, and the Misty Cloud Sea. On the sea map, this region was collectively known as the Cloud Sea Domain. The Cloud Sea Domain was definitely not as large as those super sea regions named after their locations. However, it was not much smaller than the Tianwu Domain, where Xiao Chen was. The reason was none other than the desolate sea regions above the sea regions, which were too vast and could not be compared to land. The Shattered Cloud Sea, where Xiao Chen was now, was about the size of 10-odd provinces of the Tianwu Domain. There were tens of thousands of islands. As for the Mo clan, just as Xiao Chen had guessed, it was a rank 6 clan. The Mo clan was famous for refining weapons, and it could be considered a considerable force in the Shattered Cloud Sea. However, the one who is truly famous in the Mo clan is the Mo clan's eldest young Mississippi. Her name is Mo Chen. She is the top beauty of the Cloud Sea Domain. Even in the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea, she is quite famous. Young talents go to visit her every year. Ao Jiao looked at Xiao Chen mischievously. The meaning behind it was self-evident. Beauty? How beautiful can she be? I've seen so many beauties. Xiao Chen did not care about it. What he cared about was the strength of the Mo clan, and the strength of the peak experts in this sea region. However, it was very difficult to obtain this information from the Mo clan's cultivators in secret. Xiao Chen still had to go out and personally talk to the others before he could gain any information. The purple warship was very large. The interior of the warship was very spacious. Furthermore, aside from the guest rooms and storehouses, there were other entertainment rooms. The most popular one was a tavern. Aside from the Mo clan's cultivators, there were also many wandering cultivators hired by the Mo clan. There were also a few cultivators like Xiao Chen who wanted to hitch a ride. Indeed, the warships of the heavenly starry ocean were very different from those of the continent. For example, the tavern that Xiao Chen was currently in. The warships of the continent rarely went to such a bustling place. The interior of the tavern was exquisitely decorated, and the environment was elegant. It was not as noisy as the tavern outside. After all, this was the Mo clan's internal tavern. Even cultivators would control their drinking, and not let it affect official business. The moment Xiao Chen stepped into the tavern, he felt many gazes on him. Then they started discussing in low voices in the tavern. That's him. 7 days ago, when the 2 elders made a move, he charged over like a ghost. That can't be. No matter how I look at it, he is just a martial monarch. How could he dodge the killing moves of two martial sages so easily? It is indeed true. However, Steward Wang said that it was a coincidence. The two elders were careless, allowing him to take advantage of the situation. I think it is also a coincidence. Otherwise, it would be too strange. Ignoring these discussions, Xiao Chen found an empty table and sat down. Then he called over a manservant and asked, "What good wine do you have? Give me a flask." That manservant was clearly a member of the Mo clan. He smiled and said, "If we are talking about good wine on the warship, naturally, it is the 1,000-year flame that our young miss brewed herself." 1,000-year flame. What a strange name. Give me a flask, then. Xiao Chen sighed softly. The name 1,000-year flame really piqued his interest. The meaning of the 1,000-year flame was easy to understand. It was a flame that burned for 1,000 years without extinguishing. However, what kind of wine could be called the 1,000-year flame? Hee. Friend, I was just joking about this 1,000-year flame. You probably cannot afford it. Furthermore, the wine is priced by the cup and not by the flask. That manservant looked at Xiao Chen with some disdain. The 1,000-year flame was normally prepared for martial sages. Without a martial sage's status, one would not be able to afford it. The other Mo clan cultivators in the tavern all laughed, mocking Xiao Chen for being a country bumpkin who had not seen the world. However, when the manservant said that, Xiao Chen became even more interested. How much is one cup? 1,000 astral coins. Hey, that is not very expensive. Give me 10 cups. Huangdang. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and 100 black astral coins neatly landed on the table. Before the laughter of the others faded away, when they saw this scene, they could not help but goggle. Their smiles froze on their faces. Black astral coins. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen took out black astral coins. Furthermore, he did not even blink, directly taking out 100 black astral coins. That was 10,000 astral coins. 10,000 astral coins. To a martial monarch, this was a huge sum. An ordinary inferior-grade martial monarch would have to work hard for at least a month to save up such a sum. The manservant checked the black astral coins and carefully put them away. However, he rejoiced in his heart. The quality of the astral iron in black astral coins was much better than that of ordinary astral coins. For the sake of refining secret treasures, the Mo clan had to use astral coins to exchange for black astral coins at a high price every year. Xiao Chen handed over 100 black astral coins, which was considered a significant contribution within the clan. 10 cups of 1,000-year flame. They will be ready soon. Please wait a moment. The manservant moved very quickly. Soon, he carried a tray and placed 10 transparent purple crystal cups on the table. The wine in the cups was scarlet. There was not much wine in the cups. They looked like clumps of burning blood. Together with the glowing purple crystal cups, they gave off a dreamlike visual enjoyment. The purple crystal cups were similar to the goblets of Xiao Chen's previous life. However, they were more elegant and aloof. Did your clan's young miss design these cups as well? Xiao Chen asked. When talking about his clan's young miss, the manservant said proudly, "That is natural. You are lucky. Our clan's young miss is very talented. Be it brewing wine, refining secret treasures, zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, formations, medicine, or astrology, there is nothing she cannot do. You are very lucky to be able to buy this 1,000-year flame from the tavern of our Purple Cloud warship. If you went to another place, this cup of wine would be 10 times more expensive. Even if you had the money, you would not be able to drink it. 10 times more expensive. Wouldn't that mean that one cup of wine could sell for 1,000 black astral coins? This price shocked Xiao Chen somewhat. If he sold 10 cups of wine every day, that would be close to 4 million black astral coins a year. However, after thinking about it, he smiled to himself. This was somewhat unrealistic. The brewing of this wine was probably not a simple matter. There had to be some restrictions. Xiao Chen carefully sized up this wine. The wine was as scarlet as blood. However, it was very different from true blood and did not seem repulsive. It gave off an intoxicating feeling of redness, tender and alluring, causing one to be intoxicated. It was as delicate as clear water and as bright as blood. However, there seemed to be something else in the wine. Xiaochen could not just drink it down like that. Xiaochen picked up the wine cup and swirled the wine in it. Tiny specks of golden light floated up from the wine and quickly filled the cup. Boom! A golden flame soared up from the wine cup and turned into a legendary holy beast, the golden crow. It cried out in the air of the tavern and flew around. Interesting. Xiaochen's eyes lit up. Then he started tapping the table rhythmically with his fingers. The remaining 9 cups of thousand-year flame also started swaying slowly. Bang! 9 flames soared out from the wine like a blazing sun. In an instant, a dazzling golden light lit up the dim tavern, making it seem like it was brightly lit. It was a great honor to have such a humble place lit up by such a bright light. 10 golden crows chased each other in the sky above the tavern, forming a miraculous scene of 10 connected suns. This magnificent scene stunned the others. Originally, these people were prepared to watch Xiaochen make a fool of himself. The thousand-year flame could not be drunk directly. He had to shake it for a while. Otherwise, if he drank it in one go, he would not be able to extinguish the fire in his body. However, his body would catch fire in that instant. His clothes, eyebrows, and hair would all be burned away, making a fool of himself. In the end, not only did Xiaochen not make a fool of himself, but he even created a magnificent scene of 10 connected suns, so bright that everyone could not open their eyes. The golden crows turned into motes of sparks and slowly faded away. The tavern returned to normal. Xiaochen, who was preparing to drink, looked at the sky and frowned. Then, he quietly withdrew his left hand from the table and spread it out. A weak suction came from it. Without anyone noticing, all the scattered motes of sparks in the air gathered together. "Friend, this wine is ready to drink already." That waiter smiled somewhat embarrassedly. Clearly, he worried that Xiaochen would blame him, so he did not remind him. When all the sparks gathered, a resplendent golden light appeared on Xiaochen's left hand. In that instant, he clenched his fist tightly, not letting any light leak out. "Ao Jiao, it looks like this Mo clan's young miss is not just pretty. Why do you care so much? Quickly drink." "Just looking at this thousand-year flame makes me want to drink it. Quickly drink. Quickly drink. Tell me what it tastes like." Ao Jiao urged as she stared at the wine cup. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and helplessly. "That's fine, I'll drink first." Chapter 10:21. Xiaochen really wanted to know what this wine called the thousand-year flame tasted like as well. Xiaochen picked up the wine cup and drained it in one gulp. Compared to its fiery name, this wine felt extremely cool when it entered his mouth. An icy chill instantly spread throughout his body. From the inside out, it felt like his body had fallen into an ice cave. This extreme change stimulated his entire body and made him tremble. The cold was too strong, covering up the wine's taste at first. Just as one was about to forget it, the wine's taste slowly permeated the body. The intoxicating fragrance was like a clump of gentle fire, slowly pushing its way into Xiaochen's body, slowly dispelling the bone-chilling cold. The fire was neither fast nor slow as it slowly dispelled the cold. Together with the intoxicating wine fragrance, it slowly conquered the cultivator's heart. This was an extreme enjoyment. Xiaochen could not help leaning back in his chair in satisfaction. Then he held the dreamy purple crystal cup in his right hand and closed his eyes. As the ice and fire clashed, time seemed to move extremely slowly. When the cold qi was completely dispelled, his body felt like it had been ignited by the flame, reaching the peak of enjoyment. Thousand-year flame. This clump of flame truly burned for 1,000 years without extinguishing. The instant the cold qi was completely dispelled, it reached great heights, reaching the peak. The flame was ferocious, and the aftereffects of the wine burst forth. Xiaochen felt boundlessly carefree. His sweat soaked through his clothes. This was practically a perfect cup of wine. In this half-drunken, half-awake state, Xiaochen discovered that the will of ice in his sea of consciousness had silently strengthened. It was like it had undergone some kind of tempering, improving significantly. The cold qi spread in his sea of consciousness, allowing him to maintain a trace of consciousness and not fall over from the aftereffects. Great wine. The thousand-year flame truly lives up to its name. Xiaochen could not help blurting this out when he opened his eyes. The intoxicating red on his face made him blush involuntarily. The manservant smiled and said, "Haha, that is natural. My clan's young miss personally brewed this 1,000-year flame. Even if others knew the method, they would not be able to brew it." Indeed, without her conditions, even the most incredible master brewer would be helpless, Xiaochen thought to himself. Xiaochen raised his head and glanced at the manservant. Then he looked at the remaining 9 cups of 1,000-year flame on the table. He could not help but laugh helplessly. The manservant was clearly tricking him. If a normal person drank 1 cup, they would be drunk. If they drank 3 cups in a row, they could be considered a man. If they drank 10 cups in a row, he reckoned that even a great grandmaster would collapse. Ordinary people would not buy so many cups in one go. The manservant took advantage of Xiaochen being an outsider, and did not say anything. However, this was precisely why Xiaochen discovered some secrets that he was very interested in. Even so, he would be fine even if he drank more than 100 cups. Bang! Before the manservant's horrified gaze, Xiaochen emptied the remaining 9 cups of 1,000-year flame in one go. Xiaochen calmed himself down and carefully sensed it. He discovered that what he saw earlier was not an illusion. His will of ice was indeed slowly growing stronger. The Chen's 9 cups of the Chun as year flame. And Xiaochen could not help rejoicing in his heart. This was truly an unexpected gain. He immediately asked, "Do you still have more 1,000-year flame?" "Another 10. The waiter was a little stunned. After a long time, he reacted and said with an embarrassed smile, "Your alcohol capacity is really shocking. I've been in this tavern for so many years, but I've never seen anyone who can drink 3 cups in a row without collapsing. But it's a pity that there's no more of this wine. I'll sell you the last 10 cups. When Miss is in the mood, she'll sell it." What a pity! Xiaochen discovered that with the aid of these 10 cups of 1,000-year flame, his will of ice was approaching small perfection. Just 1 more cup and he would be able to reach the minor accomplishment realm, saving him a few years of time. The other martial artists in the tavern were also shocked by Xiaochen's heroic act of drinking 10 cups in a row. Amazing! If it weren't for his martial monarch cultivation, I would have thought that he was a big shot. I heard that if those talented youths want to meet with young Miss alone, the first test is to drink 3 cups of 1,000-year flame. Even the outstanding talents of the Cloud Sea domain, who are inferior grade martial sages, do not dare to drink 3 cups in a row, making them very depressed. This fellow drank 10 cups in a row. This is really unheard of. I wonder what will happen to Miss Emochen. What can he do? He is just an inferior grade martial monarch. He cannot even compare to us. Does he think he can compare to the outstanding talents of our Cloud Sea domain? After a long time, all sorts of envious and disdainful voices filled the tavern. Xiaochen smiled and ignored them. Even if he wanted to, he could not do anything. After drinking 10 cups of 1,000-year flame, his legs had already turned soft. If not for the will of ice, he would have collapsed long ago. Young Master Xing is here. 2 old men with extraordinary auras wearing embroidered clothes slowly walked into the tavern. The Mo clan cultivators immediately noticed them. The Mo clan cultivators all stood up and greeted them respectfully. Martial sages could become Mo clan elders, possessing extraordinary statuses. This young Master Xing was very young, but he was already an inferior grade martial sage. With one look, it was clear that he was an outstanding talent of the Cloud Sea domain. Even the 2 servants beside him were peak martial monarchs. His clan was definitely extraordinary. Xiaochen sized up the Mo clan cultivators before withdrawing his gaze. While everyone's gazes shifted away from Xiaochen, he slowly opened his tightly clenched left hand. A squarish ice crystal appeared in Xiaochen's hand. Then he used it to seal that spot of golden light, concealing its light. Even so, at such a close distance he could feel the extreme yang heat. Just a little flame could give him such a feeling. If he could obtain a clump of this flame, how powerful would it be? Ao Jiao, you figured something out, right? Ao Jiao's eyes lit up in the immortal spirit ring. She exclaimed in pleasant surprise. "This is the solar true flame." Xiaochen nodded and said, "It is even denser than the pure yang qi of my purple thunder true fire. This Mo clan's young Mrs. ancestor is not simple. She probably has the Solar True Flame's origin flame. Given the Mo clan's strength, it was clearly impossible for them to obtain the Solar True Flame. Xiao Chen felt that even if he reached the level of the blue-robed emperor, he would not dare to barge into that blazing sun. It was even more impossible for a rank 6 noble clan to do so. The Solar True Flame in her could only be inherited. This young Miss Mo hid it very well. If not for the golden crows soaring and forming the scene of 10 connected suns, the golden crow egg in the dragon phoenix cauldron in Xiao Chen's body would not have reacted. Even with Xiao Chen's eyesight, he would not have discovered that this young miss had infused the Solar True Flame into the brewing of the 1,000-year flame. However, this wine was indeed a rare wine. Since ancient times, no expert had ever thought of using the sun's true fire to make such a small thing as wine brewing. Xiao Chen was not sure why Xiao Chen could use the 1,000-year flame to raise his will of ice. However, he was sure that the 1,000-year flame contained the Solar True Flame. Ao Jiao giggled and said, "In that case, this young miss is really your lucky star. Your golden crow egg can hatch while you are still alive." This is not easy. With my current strength, even if I use the strength of my physical body, it would still be difficult for me to deal with a rank 6 noble clan. Furthermore, this clan might have some hidden cards. Snatching it by force will not work. I do not like this method, either. Xiao Chen shook his head. He felt that the situation was somewhat thorny. Then he continued. If we use other things to exchange, not to mention whether the other party is willing or not, without sufficient strength, if we expose our treasures, the other party might not have any malicious intent. If a martial monarch took a treasure that even a great grandmaster-level martial sage did not have and ran off to trade with someone else, the consequences would be obvious. What should we do then? I'll take it one step at a time. The most important thing now is to recover my strength. I'll look for that manservant first, and ask about the situation in the Cloud Sea domain. Xiao Chen called the manservant over again, and gave him some benefits. Finally, he obtained the information he wanted. The ruler of the Shattered Cloud Sea was the Shattered Cloud City's city lord, who had the cultivation of a blue-robed emperor. Every year, the thousands of islands in the vicinity had to pay a large sum of resources to Shattered Cloud City. As for the 7 small sea domains in the Broken Cloud Sea and the Chaotic Cloud Sea, the situation was similar. They were all ruled by a blue-robed emperor. Although the Shattered Cloud Sea's Mo clan was only a rank 6 noble clan, they excelled at refining. In terms of status and influence, they were even greater than several rank 7 sects in the Shattered Cloud Sea. This time, the Mo clan had promised the Shattered Cloud City's city lord to refine a set of sage-grade secret treasures for his young master. Hence, they had gone out to sea to search for raw materials. There were also some scattered pieces of information. After asking around, Xiao Chen intended to leave. However, when Xiao Chen turned around, his gaze happened to meet that young Master Xing's. The other party's gaze was hostile, like he was waiting for Xiao Chen to turn around. Xiao Chen did not want to cause trouble, so he immediately left. When he passed by that young Master Xing, the other party said, "I heard that you drank 10 cups of 1,000-year flame in one go. Your alcohol tolerance is astonishing. Tell me the secret." "It is just drinking wine. It depends on the person. There is no secret," Xiao Chen said in a hurry before continuing on his way. However, 2 of young Master Xing's servants blocked Xiao Chen's path. "Did I say you could leave? I'll give you 3,000 black astral coins. Tell me the secret," young Master Xing said indifferently as he put down the wine cup in his hand. The originally calm atmosphere, upon hearing young Master Xing's words, caused the tavern to become lively once again. I heard that young Master Xing always wanted to meet with young Miss alone. However, he could not get past 3 cups of 1,000-year flame. This unknown fellow is going to be unlucky. Young Master Xing is a peak expert of our Shattered Cloud Sea's younger generation. He is even on the Cloud Sea domain's Proud Son of Heaven ranking in the top 20. It is best to be low-key. He is clearly only a martial monarch, yet he is so ostentatious. It is impossible for him not to be unlucky. The Mo clan cultivators looked at Xiao Chen with sympathy. It was easy to imagine the outcome of a martial monarch facing an inferior grade martial sage like young Master Xing. The two peak martial monarchs stood in front, looking at Xiaochen coldly with an aloof air. Brat, our young master told you to hand over the secret, so hand it over. We gave you face, but you do not want it. You will not repent until you see the coffin. You are seeking a beating. When the taller servant on the right saw young Master Xing give him a look, he raised his hand and sent a slap at Xiaochen. Xiaochen's quintessence surged, and a flame burned on his right hand. If this slap landed, it would not be as simple as leaving a palm print. Chapter 1022. The Mo clan cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air. This was too much. Even if he did not give you the secret, there was no need to be so ruthless. Without his cultivation, anyone could bully him. Even a peak martial monarch dared to make a move against him. When Xiaochen kicked, no one saw how he did it. A crisp sound came from the right knee of the servant who attacked him, and he let out a miserable cry of pain. The quintessence in that servant's body turned chaotic, and he lost his balance. Then he fell to one knee. Horror flashed in the eyes of the other servant. Just as he was about to make a move, he discovered that Xiaochen's palm had pressed on his chest at some point in time. Before that servant could react, he saw Xiaochen push gently. His ribs broke, and he flew back like a sandbag. All this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly, so fast that no one could react. By the time everyone's gazes returned to Xiaochen, Xiaochen was already at the entrance of the tavern. Before he knew it, he had already walked to the entrance of the tavern, and was about to leave. Damn it! How dare you injure the people of my Xing clan? Are you tired of living? Putung. Young Master Xing reacted and soared into the air from his seat. He instantly drew a sword flickering with a cold light from his waist, and an indistinct sword light appeared. Strands of heavenly sage laws appeared behind young Master Xing, wildly absorbing the spiritual energy of the world. This made his sword strike, which contained his rage, look very mighty. It looked like young Master Xing's aura was boundless, surging with killing intent. It looked like this lightning-fast sword strike would pierce through Xiaochen's back. If it did, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Suddenly, Xiaochen stopped and turned around. In that instant, countless trajectories of young Master Xing's sword appeared in his eyes. In one breath, Xiaochen simulated thousands of variations of the trajectory of this sword strike in his mind. No matter how the other party changed his moves, Xiaochen had control over everything. Bang! When the sword light was only 3 centimeters away from Xiaochen, 2 fingers suddenly appeared and clamped down on young Master Xing's sword strike, which was filled with rage and might. Unexpectedly, an inferior grade martial sage's sword strike was easily countered by Xiaochen. It was like a child throwing a tantrum. The cultivators in the tavern were so shocked that their jaws dropped. Was this the strength of a martial monarch? Was this still the same guy who had fallen on the deck like a dog eating shit 7 days ago? It was completely beyond their imagination, and not within the scope of their understanding and acceptance. Young Master Xing, who was in the air, revealed a look of fear. He used all his strength to pull out the sword, but to no avail. Getting physical over such a trivial matter. Young Master, you probably don't know how high the sky is outside. Xiaochen snorted coldly. The 5 dragon force in his body roared. Thunder sounded. Dragon roared unceasingly. A terrifying aura burst out from his body. Xiaochen's clothes fluttered and his hair fluttered. Before he even used his strength, just the vast aura of the 5 dragon force shattered the sword in young Master Xing's hand. Young Master Xing vomited blood and went flying back. Young Master Xing fell to the ground and looked at Xiaochen in horror. He muttered, "Advancing sage of the physical body. You are an outstanding talent of the advancing sage of the physical body." Xiaochen still held the 2-centimeter sword tip in his right hand. He glanced at young Master Xing and slowly withdrew his killing qi. In the end, Xiaochen was not a bloodthirsty person. Such a minor character would not be able to cause any big waves. Xiaochen flicked his finger, and the sword tip flew out and stabbed into the ground beside young Master Xing. This frightened young Master Xing into trembling, his face drained of blood. There was complete silence. No one could say anything. The entire tavern was silent. The manservant who served Xiaochen wine earlier opened his mouth wide, not knowing what to do. He had actually underestimated such a person, and even planned to watch him make a fool of himself. Such a person could casually send young Master Xing flying. If young Master Xing had gotten angry, wouldn't he thinking of this? Xiaochen could not help but break out in a cold sweat. Damn. That startled me. This world is really unpredictable. Unexpectedly, a random martial monarch is an outstanding talent of the advancing sage of the physical body. I knew it. How can someone who can drink 10 cups of thousand-year flame be a minor character? There must be a trick to the test that young Miss set. What do you think? How does this person compare to the demonic geniuses of the Shattered Cloud Sea's younger generation? Can he compare to the Shattered Cloud City's young city lord? What kind of joke is this? Young Master Xing could last 3 moves against the young city lord. However, he could not even last half a move against this person. In the entire Cloud Sea domain, there are no more than 5 youths who can compare to this person. The Mo clan cultivators chattered endlessly. However, they suddenly thought of such a person appearing on their warship. If he harbored malicious intent, it would be very dangerous. Quickly inform Steward Wang. Someone in the tavern immediately rushed to Steward Wang's residence in a fluster. In the control room of the purple warship, the 4 martial sages of the Mo clan and Uncle Wang, who was a peak superior grade martial sage, all gathered together as though they were facing a great enemy. Young Miss, this old man was blind. I really did not expect this person to be an expert of the advancing sage of the physical body. Uncle Wang said sullenly. Young Miss, give the order. I am willing to personally make a move and chase this person away. Mo Chun, who wore a veil and had an exquisite figure, did not seem surprised by this. Her eyes alone could mesmerize anyone. Mo Chun waved her smooth, jade-like hand and said, "There's no need. This person should not have any malicious intent. Tell me what he did in the tavern first." Uncle Wang answered honestly. He ordered 10 cups of thousand-year flame, and created the scene of 10 connected suns. Then he drank 10 cups in one go. When Mo Chun heard this, a strange look flashed in her eyes. However, it quickly vanished as she waited for Uncle Wang to continue. After that, he asked the manservant about the distribution of the factions in the Cloud Sea domain, and the strength of the ruler of our Shattered Star Sea. He also asked about our Mo clan. Why did he ask about our Mo clan? With the strength of such a person, why would he care about a rank 6 clan? Mo Chun muttered to herself, finding it strange. Could he have figured something out? Young Miss should already know what happened after that. That young Master Xing drank 1 cup of thousand-year flame, and nearly got drunk. Then he suddenly saw a person drink 10 cups in a row and not get drunk. He immediately tried to force out the secret, and ended up provoking this person to make a move. Mo Chen's thoughts were very sharp. She pointed out the crux of the problem and asked, "Are you sure that he only made a move against young Master Xing after asking the manservant?" "I am sure. However, what does that matter?" Uncle Wang asked, feeling confused. Mo Chen entered deep thought. No one could make out her expression behind the white veil. After a while she said, "In that case there is nothing else. I will go and meet him alone. There is no need for you all to follow." The others felt confused. Feeling somewhat confused, they asked worriedly, "Old Wang, can we let young Miss go alone? With that person's strength, I think that even if we work together, we will have a 50-50 chance of victory." Indeed, although young Master Xing just advanced to martial sage, he was defeated by someone in half a move. That is too much. Uncle Wang sighed and said, "Let's leave it to young Mississippi." This time, he really accidentally picked up a huge dragon. However, it is hard to say whether this is a blessing or a curse. Young Master Xing is just a minor character. There is no need to expose his strength, right? Ao Jiao asked, feeling confused after they returned to the room. Right now, Xiao Chen's heavenly sage laws were shattered, and the magic energy in his sea of consciousness was sparse. However, he still had his physical body. When he circulated 5 dragon force, he could exert 25,000 tons of force. Even if a Grandmaster-level martial sage came, he would only be on par with Xiao Chen. The possibility of him completely suppressing Xiaochen was very small. If not for Xiaochen's magic energy having not recovered yet, his heavenly sage laws were shattered, and he could not execute deities descending, he would be able to kill a grandmaster-level martial sage with one punch. Young Master Xing was just an inexperienced person who just advanced to martial sage. Xiaochen only needed to use one dragon force to force him to retreat. However, in the tavern, Xiaochen had used the aura of 5 dragon force to send the other party flying. This confused Ao Jiao. After all, Xiaochen now had many enemies. The old subordinates of Neptune were probably searching for him everywhere. The people of Zodiac Hall were definitely searching for him as well. The loose cultivators who coveted the treasures on him were also searching for him. He should have been more low-key. For the sake of hiding his identity, the clear wind robes that the Blue Dragon King's insignia had turned into azure had been replaced with ordinary clothes. Xiaochen had also taken off the iconic Neptune headscarf long ago. This was to reduce the chances of his identity being exposed in the sea region. Now Xiaochen did the exact opposite. This was very puzzling. Xiaochen took out the blue crystal again and looked at the solar true flame sealed in ice. He said, "You will understand in a while." "Oh, right, let me take a look at the recipe for the medicinal pill that recovers law energy." The medicinal pill was called the Heavenly Origin Pill. Ao Jiao had already written down the recipe. It was a medicinal pill that she had come into contact with when she followed the Thunder King. The Heavenly Origin Pill reached King grade. Its ingredients were extremely precious and required a lot of money. To Xiaochen, money was not a big deal at the moment. What was rare was a Grandmaster alchemist who could refine the Heavenly Origin Pill. Xiaochen only knew the immortal epic's alchemy methods and not the orthodox alchemy methods of the martial epoch. Even if Xiaochen spent a lot of money and found the ingredients, it would be pointless if there was no one to refine the Heavenly Origin Pill. Xiaochen entered deep thought. Grandmaster alchemists were not easy to find. "Someone is coming," Ao Jiao said softly from the immortal spirit ring. Xiaochen scanned with his spiritual sense. She came earlier than he expected. This Mo clan's young miss was indeed a smart person. That was right. Xiaochen made a move in the tavern to lure this girl over. Be it the solar true flame, or the pendant on this girl's chest, Xiaochen was determined to obtain them. From the manservant's words, Xiaochen gained a rough understanding that the Mo clan's situation in the Shattered Cloud Sea was not good. Because of Miss Mo's beauty, she faced a lot of trouble. Although she dealt with them with ingenious methods, it was not a long-term solution. Since that was the case, there was room for negotiation. Xiaochen could help her deal with these problems in exchange for the pendant on her chest, and temporarily borrow the solar true flame. If that was not enough, he could add something else. If Xiaochen wanted to negotiate, he naturally had to reveal some of his strength first. It would be best if the other party spoke first. In any case, Xiaochen did not have any good ideas on how to borrow the lunar true flame and obtain the pendant on her chest. He might as well give it a try first. If he succeeded, that would be for the best. If not, he would think of something else. After Xiaochen put away the alchemic recipe, he raised his hand and waved. The door opened with a creak. The veiled Emochin happened to be standing outside, about to knock. Chapter 1023. "Miss Emo, please come in." Emochin drifted over and looked at Xiaochen with her gem-like eyes. Xiaochen wore ordinary clothes, and his long hair was unkempt, casually draped over his shoulders. She could not see any precious secret treasures or ornaments that could reveal his identity. Xiaochen's cultivation was indeed only that of a martial monarch. However, such a person had beaten up young Master Xing to the point where he could not even retaliate. Emochin compared Xiaochen to the outstanding talents of the great seas that she had seen. She had seen many true outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. They were all young, and they were all superior grade martial sages. There were even some geniuses of the Zodiac Hall, who were Grandmaster-level martial sages. Compared to those people, Xiaochen's aura was clearly different. There was no trace of the arrogance of a genius. However, Xiaochen's eyes were boundlessly deep, unfathomable and unfathomable. Young Master does not seem surprised at Emochin's appearance. Emo-chan said softly. Xiao-chan smiled and said, I was the one who lured you here in the first place. How could I be surprised? Sit. Xiao-chan stretched out his hand, and a chair flew into the air and landed firmly beside Emo-chan. The two sat down, and Emo-chan took out the pendant around her neck. There was a red remnant white flower ornament hanging from the green leaf-like necklace. It was bright in color and gave off a beautiful glow. However, the feeling it gave off was one of uncontrollable grief. In the language of flowers, the remnant white flower represented passionate love. However, this remnant white flower before Xiao-chan was a wilted flower. At its most beautiful moment, it wilted and withered, no longer passionate. The lover was gone, leaving only grief lingering in the heart. Before Xiao-chan's eyes, the remnant white flower gave off a flowing light. A strong wind blew, and crystalline petals flew out. The strong wind was merciless, and the remnant white flower was like blood, piercing one's heart and filling it with grief. That's right. This is definitely refined from the grief throne. It is horrifying enough to affect my emotions. If I get affected by this pendant in battle, I will be consigned to eternal damnation if I get careless. Xiao-chan stabilized his emotions and raised his guard. You boarded the purple cloud ship for this broken flower pendant, right? Given Emo-chan's intelligence, if she still could not guess why Xiao-chan had been staring at her chest back then, she would really be living up to her reputation. Broken flower pendant? Could it be that the other party did not know that this was the original form of the grief throne, forged by the ancient era's paragon, the evil king? This is a pendant passed down in my Emo clan. In terms of usage, it is even more valuable than some strong king-grade secret treasures. Emo-chan continued. If young master wants this pendant, it is not impossible. Just be my bodyguard for 1 year. After 1 year, I will hand it over to young master. A year of bodyguard meant that he had to ensure the other party's safety for a year. Xiao-chan replied calmly. It is not impossible for me to be your bodyguard for a year. However, a pendant alone is not worth me staying in the Emo clan for a year. Emo-chan frowned slightly and said, What bold words! A sage body that can bring out 5 dragon force is barely equal to a grandmaster-level martial sage. In the Shattered Cloud Sea, although grandmaster-level martial sages are strong, they are not at the peak. My Emo clan does not fear grandmaster-level martial sages either. If not for the situation forcing me, I would not have made such a decision. After all, this broken flower pendant is an item passed down in my Emo clan. Emo-chan's tone was very forceful, even somewhat angry. She felt that Xiao-chan overestimated himself. Using the broken flower pendant to hire the other party for a year already cost him a lot. Yet he was still not satisfied. Xiao-chan clearly grasped the other party's tone. He smiled and did not argue. Very well, you are right. I am only as strong as a martial sage. How about this? I will agree to your request first. However, how about we make a bet? What bet? If one day, you feel that using the broken flower pendant to hire me for a year is a good deal, then agree to another request of mine. Of course, this request will not cross the line. It will not violate the most basic etiquette. Under the veil, Emo-chan's lips curled up slightly. She smiled confidently and said, You are extraordinarily arrogant. Even those genius disciples of Zodiac Hall would not speak to me like this. I'll bet with you. This girl was indeed someone who had seen the world. No wonder she was so disdainful of that young Master Xing compared to the disciples of Zodiac Hall. The outstanding youths of the Cloud Sea domain were not worth mentioning. However, what were the disciples of Zodiac Hall in Xiao-chan's eyes? Even the top female disciple of the Moon Palace had to flee while covering her face. Hehe. Xiao-chan, you have really suffered a great loss this time. In less than half a year, you will recover your strength. At that time, your heavenly sage laws will immediately take form. Together with Neptune's crown, even a regular blue-robed emperor would not be a match for you. After Emo-chan left, Ao Jiao smiled gently. I have to obtain the waning flower pendant. However, in her hands, she can immediately destroy it with a thought. I might as well agree to it first. After all, she will definitely lose the bet. At that time, it will not be a loss if I borrow the solar true flame. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said indifferently. The matter of Xiao Chun becoming Mo Chen's bodyguard quickly spread like a whirlwind throughout the entire warship. That's impossible. This was the first thing all the Mo clan cultivators said when they heard the news. Miss Mo Chen's standards had always been very high. She had rejected many outstanding young talents of the Cloud Sea domain. Even those outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. She had even rejected them mercilessly. However, this was the truth. Xiao Chen had indeed become Mo Chen's bodyguard. Miss, this person's origins are unknown. Isn't it too unreliable to make him a bodyguard? Uncle Wang said anxiously to Mo Chen in the control room. Is that so? Does Uncle Wang feel that there is a better candidate? Uncle Wang, you should be very clear on the intentions of those people who approached me in the Cloud Sea domain, Mo Chen countered. Steward Wang was speechless. These people were just drooling over her beauty and the Mo clan's unique refining techniques. While their origins were very clean, their intentions were not that simple. Aren't there still the few outstanding young masters of the Southern Sea? I think the disciples of the Zodiac Hall and the Southern Sea King's scions are pretty good, Mo Chen said sullenly. These people are indeed pretty good. Their family backgrounds are vast and do not care about the current Mo clan. However, they are too strong. If they are tempted by benefits, the consequences will be worse. This person is the most suitable candidate. His goal is clear, and I know what he wants. His strength is also passable. However, he is somewhat arrogant and wants to make a bet with me. Bet? What bet? Uncle Wang asked out of curiosity. Mo Chen stopped speaking and changed the topic. Nothing much, just a bet that he will definitely lose. Uncle Wang, how many more days until we reach Starry Cloud Island? 7 days. It looks like the Lu clan's people will not appear. We can successfully complete the city lord's request this time. We cannot continue like this. We should think of a way to resolve this once and for all. Mo Chen did not show any joy on her face. How could Uncle Wang not think the same way? He sighed and said, it will be difficult. The Lu clan's refining skills are not as strong as ours. However, the clan head is a great grandmaster level martial sage. Furthermore, he has the largest merchant association of the Cloud Sea domain, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, behind him. Rumble. Suddenly, the entire purple warship shook intensely. Mo Chen's expression changed, and she waved her hand. Formations flickered in the control room. Formation markings immediately spread out on the ground, walls, and inside the control room. The entire space turned resplendent. A water screen appeared around Mo Chen, showing the situation around the purple warship. For black warships descended from the sky like specters and surrounded the purple warship. Beams of light from the ancient demonic energy cannons bombarded the purple warship continuously. They really picked the right time. In another day, the purple warship would enter the range of Starry Cloud Island. Just when everyone heaved a sigh of relief, the Lu clan's people finally charged out. I'll go out and take a look. Right after Steward Wang spoke, he quickly left the control room and went to the deck. The normally empty deck was now filled with Mo clan cultivators. All of them had grave expressions and had drawn their weapons long ago. Killing chi radiated from their foreheads. Old Wang, we meet again. Call your clan's young miss out. Opposite the purple warship was a tall, wolf-headed warship. 2 black-clad cultivators, one old and one young, stood on the wolf-headed warship. The youth on the right smiled evilly at Mo Chen. The old man beside him gave off an indistinct aura. Unexpectedly, it was the aura of a grandmaster-level martial sage. 3 old men walked out of the other 3 wolf-headed warships. A strong wind blew. They were all superior-grade martial sages. Including the 2 old men beside the youth, the Lu clan had a total of 3 superior-grade martial sages, and 1 grandmaster-level martial sage. In terms of strength, they definitely surpassed the Mo clan's cultivators. Uncle Wang could not be bothered with this person. He analyzed his countermeasures. The Lu clan's people exceeded his expectations. Aside from the clan head, who was a great grandmaster-level martial sage, the peak combat power of the Lu clan had practically come out in full force. This was completely different from the small skirmishes of the past. Were the two clans going to start a decisive battle? The Mo clan and the Lu clan focused on refining. There was a lot of competition between them in the Shattered Cloud Sea. Normally, there would be small skirmishes. However, they were far from falling out with each other. The Mo clan was not as strong as the Lu clan. However, if they fought indiscriminately, the Lu clan would not be able to bear it. That would only benefit the other factions that were watching the excitement. Seeing that Uncle Wang ignored him, the black-clad youth smiled and said, "Was my voice too soft? In that case, come closer." This youth was called Lu Feng, the first young master of the Lu clan. His cultivation was pretty good, stronger than young Master Xing's. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Lu Feng and the old man beside him soared into the air and landed on the purple warship's deck at the same time. The other three Mo clan elders quickly followed. Instantly, the Mo clan cultivators on the purple warship felt like they were facing a great enemy. Before the other party's strong aura, they could not help taking a step back. The four elders of the Mo family took a step forward and stood together with Uncle Wang, confronting the experts of the Lu family. Although they all looked like martial sages, the strongest of the four Mo clan elders was only a medial-grade martial sage. Only Uncle Wang was a superior-grade martial sage. Their aura was far inferior to the Lu clan's. Lu Feng said sullenly, "I can't be bothered to speak nonsense with you. Hand over the cyclic meteor iron." Chapter 1024. Dream on. Uncle Wang replied rudely, "If you have the guts, then kill everyone on our ship. At worst, we will just die together. In any case, if you spoil the city lord's residence's matter, the Mo clan will not have a good ending either. Your old bones are really tough. Since I rushed over this time, I am not afraid of your Mo clan dying together." Lu Feng smiled sinisterly. The Grandmaster-level martial sage Lu clan's first elder stepped forward and clenched his right hand into a fist. Electricity flickered on his fist, crackling endlessly. A huge eagle image encased the old man. When he punched, the eagle spread its wings. The electric light on the old man's body flowed down his arm. The instant the eagle spread its wings, horrifying electric energy burst out of his fist. When facing this lightning-fast punch, Uncle Wang crossed his arms and blocked it in the time it took for a spark to fly. Then he went flying back like a cannonball with a loud bang. Blood leaked out of Uncle Wang's mouth, and his feet sank. After he landed, he staggered a few steps back. At this moment, the difference between a Grandmaster-level martial sage and a superior-grade martial sage became clear. All the Mo clan cultivators felt horror spread in their hearts. At some point in time, Xiaochen had arrived in the control room. Together with Mo Chen, he saw the situation clearly through the water screen. Mo Chen said softly, "A Grandmaster-level martial sage. This is really problematic. Even if the Lu clan falls out with them, they will still spoil the mission that the City Lord's residence gave us. Are the consequences of failing the mission very severe?" Xiaochen asked. "The City Lord's residence is the sky of the Shattered Cloud Sea. The City Lord is the blue-robed emperor. He is a major character who can stir up a storm with a raise of his hand. If he angers the City Lord, the consequences will be severe. Strange. It is clearly the Lu clan that caused your mission to fail. The City Lord should be looking for trouble with the Lu clan." "That won't happen. The City Lord only cares about the results and not the process. He never interferes with the conflicts between the factions. We just have to pay him the resources on time." Mo Chen took out a spatial ring and handed it to Xiaochen. "Help me hand the cyclic meteor iron to the other party. Later, we will think of a way to deal with the City Lord's questions." He didn't expect the lady before him to be so decisive, letting go of him as soon as it was time. Xiaochen did not take the ring. He smiled faintly and said, "Actually, a bodyguard can help you solve the problem in front of you. Of course, the prerequisite is that you admit defeat." Under the veil, Mo Chen said calmly, "With your strength, you can barely deal with that Grandmaster-level martial sage. However, there are still 3 superior-grade martial sages. Housekeeper Wang can deal with 1, and the remaining 2 can sweep through the entire warship. Don't do anything rash. I asked you to be my bodyguard because I have something important to do. Don't tell me what to do now. Emo-chan said anxiously when she saw that Xiao-chan was not going to take her ring. Remember to accept your defeat. I'll help you settle this trouble. With a tap of his foot, Xiao-chan's figure flashed and disappeared from the control room. After sending Uncle Wang flying with a single punch, the great elder of the Lu clan did not stop moving. He transformed into an eagle, and as he attacked, he spread his wings and soared into the sky. He was completely suppressing Uncle Wang. In less than 10 moves, Uncle Wang was severely injured and weak. Come, let's go to the control room. I'll go and look for the Mo clan's young miss personally. When Lu Feng saw Uncle Wang stubbornly refusing to admit defeat, he did not say anything even after being beaten up so miserably. Then, he headed for the warship's hold. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Upon hearing this, the originally fearful Mo clan cultivators all moved to block the warship's hold. They pointed their weapons at Lu Feng's group with determined expressions on their faces. With such subordinates, it was no wonder that Emo-chan was willing to give up on the cyclic meteor iron rather than leave alone. Scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless, Lu Feng said coldly with a frown. He had not expected the Mo clan cultivators to be so unyielding. He frowned and said coldly, the Lu clan is too much of a bully. The Lu family has gone too far. Let's fight it out with them. Someone shouted, and a group of Mo clan cultivators charged over. What a joke. What is the point of having more people? Lu Feng snorted coldly, and the 4 people beside him attacked at the same time. With a Grandmaster-level martial sage leading the way, when the 4 worked together, no one could block a single move. Before absolute strength and a tenacious fighting spirit, miracles could not happen. Lu Feng's group easily pushed forward. Miserable cries rang out endlessly. The many Mo clan cultivators were severely injured and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Not long after, there was no one left standing on the deck. Lu Feng smiled coldly and said, just a bunch of trash. You want to block this young master's path? Go. If you want to seek trouble for the young miss, you will have to ask this old man first. Uncle Wang, who was lying on the ground heavily injured, burst out with the last of his strength. He roared ferociously and charged at Lu Feng with bloodshot eyes. Uncle Wang's berserk aura and killing chi were startling. He pushed his heavenly sage laws to their limits in this full power strike. When Lu Feng looked back, he was startled. If Uncle Wang's furious punch landed, given Lu Feng's cultivation, he would be severely injured on the spot. You overestimate yourself. The Lu clan's first elder, who was beside Lu Feng, smiled, and a pair of wings made of electricity appeared on his back. The first elder folded his wings and stored up power. The electricity formed a pillar of light and soared into the sky. When Uncle Wang attacked, the first elder's wings suddenly unfurled. In that instant, resplendent electric light appeared. With a single punch, he sent the ferocious Uncle Wang flying backward. After Uncle Wang fell to the ground, he fainted. Blood flowed out of his mouth continuously. Old Wang. Several Mo clan cultivators carried Uncle Wang up and glared at the Lu clan's first elder in grief and indignation. Lu Feng laughed loudly and said, you scared this old man. In the end, you are still trash. Let's go. Lu Feng laughed loudly and took the lead, heading for the warship's hold. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, there was no need to hold back on this Emo-chan. Not only did he want to obtain the cyclic meteor iron, but he also wanted the person. Aren't you very virtuous? You even looked down on the top 10 experts of the Cloud Sea domain. Let's see how virtuous you are going to be today. Bang. Suddenly, just as Lu Feng stepped into the warship's hold, a hand stretched out at lightning speed and grabbed his neck, raising him high in the air. Before Lu Feng could understand what was going on, he felt his breathing quicken. Blood covered his face, and a feeling of suffocation filled his entire body. Lu Feng grasped that iron-like hand with both hands as he flailed his legs in the air. However, it was to no avail. That hand did not move at all, grabbing his life veins. As long as it squeezed gently, it could break his soul and kill him. Horror spread throughout Lu Feng's entire body. However, he could not say anything and could only stomp his feet. Just a moment ago, Lu Feng was thinking about how to use this opportunity to obtain both the person and the riches, humiliating the famous top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain. In the next moment, he was lifted up like a dead pig. The sudden turn of events did not give the 4 Lu clan elders any chance to react. They simply could not figure out when the Mo clan gained an expert who could suppress Lu Feng with one move. With such strength, why did he not show himself earlier? Could it be that he was waiting for this moment? Chi. Electric light lit up on the Lu clan's great grandmaster level martial sage. He immediately made a move to save Lu Feng. If you have the guts, go ahead and try. Xiao Chun, who was holding Lu Feng up, slowly walked out step by step. His face, which was originally covered by the shadows, now appeared before the 4 Lu clan elders. Xiao Chun's sinister words did not contain any emotion. No one doubted that as long as the Lu clan's first elder made any strange movements, Xiao Chun would mercilessly snap Lu Feng's neck. Let's talk things out. When Lu Feng saw Xiao Chun's grip on his neck increase, the pain on his face intensified. The Lu clan's first elder quickly dispersed the electric light on his body. Xiao Chun casually carried Lu Feng and walked forward step by step. Soon he arrived at the bow of the warship. As he looked at the Mo clan cultivator lying on the ground, his expression turned sullen. This group of people was a little too heavy-handed. The figures of the Lu clan cultivators leaped out of the 4 black mountain warships, surrounding the warship. They held their bows and drew their bowstrings, aiming their arrows at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun swept his gaze over them coldly and said indifferently, "I will say this only once. Take away all your warships." Damn it. The Lu clan's first elder was so angry that his heart trembled. He could feel that Xiao Chun was only a martial monarch. However, at this moment he spoke like he was the emperor of this place. However, the Lu clan's first elder did not dare to disobey. Lu Feng's life was in Xiao Chun's hands. If Lu Feng died here, it was easy to imagine how angry the clan head would be. The Lu clan's first elder's original plan was foolproof. However, they had not expected such a demonic genius to appear on the Mo clan's warship. Take away the warship. The Lu clan's first elder said through clenched teeth, his face filled with dissatisfaction. As the warship moved, the situation reversed. After Xiao Chun appeared, the insufferably arrogant Lu clan cultivators obediently gave way. The Mo clan cultivators on the deck could not react in time. First elder. A few Lu clan old men at the side called out anxiously as they watched the warship slowly move. The Lu clan's first elder waved his hand to stop them. Then he looked at Xiao Chun and said, "Friend, are you satisfied now? Can you put down my young master first? We can discuss this further. As long as you let go of my young master, we will leave immediately. In the future, we will come to Starry Cloud Island to personally apologize." Xiao Chun smiled faintly. Indeed, he did as the Lu clan's first elder said. He casually tossed Lu Feng onto the deck. Bang! Xiao Chun did not know how heavy this fall was. Die! The killing chi that had been accumulating in the Lu clan's first elder's eyes erupted at this moment. A pillar of electric light soared into the clouds as a pair of electric wings unfurled. A strong wind blew, and electricity tore through space. The moment Xiao Chun put down Lu Feng, the old man punched at lightning speed. Xiao Chun seemed to have anticipated this. In the time it took for a spark to fly, his right foot stomped heavily on Lu Feng's chest. Kasi, Kasie. The sound of bones breaking resounded as Lu Feng cried out in agony. Whoosh! After hearing Lu Feng's miserable cry, the Lu clan's first elder's shockingly powerful punch came to a halt a meter away, not daring to make any more movements. When the Lu clan's first elder saw Lu Feng's clearly dented chest, his face could not help but twitch. This person is too ruthless. If the first elder had not stopped and used more force, he would have trampled Lu Feng to death. Do you really think that I am an idiot? Cut the crap. When we are near Starry Cloud Island, I will naturally let go of this trash. The 4 of you, scram immediately. Chapter 1025. Xiao Chun did not give the Lu clan elders any time to think. He said coldly, "I will count to 3, and you will immediately disappear. If you do not believe me, you can bet with me. Let's see whether I dare to trample this trash to death or not. 1, 2, let's go." Seeing Lu Feng's face contorted in pain and Xiao Chen's incomparably domineering attitude from the very start, the Lu clan elders did not dare to gamble. From the moment Xiao Chen appeared until now, no more than 15 minutes had passed. The Lu clan experts, even the Grandmaster-level martial sage, withdrew with just a few words from him. Such a scene dumbfounded not only the Mo clan cultivators on the deck, but also Mo Chun, who was in the control room. Glancing at the unconscious Uncle Wang, Xiao Chen tossed out a bottle of sage-grade healing medicine and said, "Let him consume it. Otherwise, if this drags on, it might turn into a stubborn disease." As the purple warship advanced, the Lu clan's 4 elders chased anxiously on the water. All of them showed anxious expressions, but they could not do anything. After half a day, 3 large warships with the Mo clan's banner appeared at the limits of the group's vision. The Mo clan's reinforcements had arrived. Xiao Chen raised his foot and kicked Lu Feng, who was in so much pain that he was on the verge of death, into the air. The Lu clan old man quickly reached out and caught Lu Feng. When he saw the Mo clan's warship in the distance, he knew that the operation had failed, and that he could not remain here for long. "Might I ask for this friend's great name?" The Lu clan's first elder asked in a quivering voice, a murderous intent surging in his eyes. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I Wen Ziren will never change my name. If you have any grudges, just take it out on me, Wen Ziren." Since he could not use the alias Yi Chun in the heavenly starry ocean, Xiao Chen could only think of a random name. "Good. Wen Ziren will wait and see." The Lu clan's first elder snorted coldly and quickly led the others away. "Brother Ziren, sorry," Xiao Chen smiled to himself. 1 Grandmaster-level martial sage, and 3 superior-grade martial sages were forced back by Xiao Chen alone. They did not dare to get angry. The Mo clan cultivators felt extremely satisfied. This was especially so for Lu Feng, who was squealing like a dead pig when Xiao Chen stepped on him, feeling extremely pleased. Seeing that the Mo clan's 3 ships were about to leave, Xiao Chen didn't want to have too much contact with people, so he turned around and walked towards the cabin. "Thank you, young Master One. I have wronged you for the past few days." Behind him, Uncle Wang, who had woken up with the help of the sage-grade healing medicine, apologized to Xiao Chen after he heard everyone's explanation. "It's just a small matter. Old Wang, you don't have to be so polite. You're injured, so it's better for you to speak less." Xiao Chen stopped and replied. Then he continued on his way. When night fell, Xiao Chen opened his eyes from his cultivation. The magic power in his sea of consciousness was recovering bit by bit. His will of thunder had recovered somewhat. It was no longer as indistinct as before, unable to circulate at all. Xiao Chen's overall strength was recovering in an orderly fashion. The only problem was that his heavenly sage law's origin was shattered, causing him to remain stuck at martial monarch. The refinement of the heavenly origin pill was urgent. As long as Xiao Chen could reassemble his origin, his strength would instantly recover. His cultivation was still there. It was not that his cultivation had fallen. It was just that his origin was shattered, preventing him from using his heavenly sage laws. Once Xiao Chen's origin was reassembled, he might be able to comprehend the mysteries of the manifestation of heavenly sage laws. Xiao Chen stretched his legs and spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. Then he planned to go out for a walk. The changes of the day had already returned to normal. The purple warship had recovered to its original state. Xiao Chen walked to the bow. The deck was cold and quiet. There was no one on it. The waning moon hung alone, and the sky was filled with stars, glistening brightly. This night was very beautiful, and the stars were even more beautiful. Only the moon shone with a pale white light, covered by the starlight. It looked lonely, ethereal, and cold. As Xiao Chen looked at the distant moon, he felt excited. He felt like he was like this moon, far away from the many stars, walking alone on the lonely path of the martial Tao. It was like the will of the heavens. At this moment, Xiao Chen was like this pale moon, dim and lightless. He did not even dare to go to his conferred land. Xiao Chen was the Blue Dragon King, the descendant of the Qing Emperor. the one who swept through all the outstanding talents of the younger generation of the Kunlun continent. However, during the day, Xiaochen had needed to threaten a grandmaster-level martial sage. If it were in the past, such a person would not even dare to speak loudly in front of him. "Young Master One, are you admiring the moon?" A clear and exquisite voice rang out. At some point in time, the Mo clan's young miss had appeared. Xiaochen turned around and said, "Strange. There are so many stars in the sky, so resplendent. Why do you think that I am admiring the moon?" Emochen smiled faintly and said, "In that case, it looks like Emochen guessed wrong. I am willing to admit defeat for what happened during the day. If young Master One has any requests, you can state them. I need to borrow Miss Mo's solar true flame for half a year. I will return it to you after that." Shock flashed in Emochen's eyes. However, she quickly calmed down and said, "I do indeed have the solar true flame. It is not a problem to lend it to young Master One for half a year. However, may I ask about young Master One's true identity?" Xiaochen replied indifferently. "My identity is Mrs. Bodyguard. For 1 year in the Cloud Sea domain, I will be Mrs. Bodyguard. With me around, no one can harm you." "You are bragging." The city lord of Shattered Cloud City squeezes the Mo clan every year, using all sorts of reasons to demand a set of peak sage grade secret treasures. If I do not agree, my life will be in danger. You will be able to protect me. The 7 seas of the Cloud Sea domain were like 7 rank 8 sections. The city lord of each sea was at least as strong as the blue-robed emperor. Xiaochen smiled and did not say anything. He only made a mental note of what Emochen said. Under the veil, Emochen laughed softly. "Haha, you are still as arrogant as before. However, don't worry. I will not offend such a strong enemy. 2 months from now, a treasure mountain at the bottom of the Cloud Sea domain will rise from the water. At that time, I would like you to accompany me as my bodyguard." "Treasure mountain at the bottom of the sea?" Emochen nodded and said, "That is the mountain of the Firely sect, an ancient sect. Legend has it that the Firely sect invented the secret treasures. Today's refining methods are all derived from this sect. Because it is located at the bottom of the sea, a deep abyss that no one can reach, aside from the Firely sect's remnants, there are natural treasures everywhere. Herb kings that are more than 10,000 years old and rare divine materials can be found there. The people of the Cloud Sea domain have always called it a treasure mountain. I am entering this time to find the Firely sect's supreme divine canon, the Book of Heavenly Works, so that the Mo clan will no longer be controlled by others. Firely sect. When Xiaochen heard this, he was stunned. When he was in the lower realm, he had visited a branch of the Firely sect's remnants. He had obtained the Dragon Phoenix cauldron in his body at that time. Several memories flooded his mind. Duanmiking, Chu Chaoyan, Hua Yunfei, Ji Chongkong, and that person with an incredible body tempering technique. Now that 10 years had passed, these names, aside from Chu Chaoyan, were like smoke in the past, vanishing like smoke, never to appear again. Just like the countless stars in the sky, there was no end to them. As they flickered, it was unknown how many stars would shatter and disappear every minute. Only he was like the moon hanging high in the sky, watching the resplendent stars and the withering stars. Only the moon existed, only he existed. In the next 10 years, how many stars would disappear and how many new stars would rise? Would he still exist like the moon? "What's wrong?" Emochen suddenly asked when she discovered a rare confusion on Xiaochen's face. Xiaochen recovered his wits and changed the topic. "Why did you choose me? With your charm, those outstanding talents of the Southern Sea will not reject this invitation." "Because I have this." Emochen smiled faintly, and a scarlet pendant covered in grief appeared in her smooth, jade-like hand. It flickered with a faint light. "What's the use of having a pretty face in the face of absolute benefits? If I cannot take out something that can rival the Book of Heavenly Works, I will only be killing myself for nothing." The Book of Heavenly Works was a divine canon that every blacksmith dreamed of. Not only did it record the refining methods of all sorts of strong secret treasures, but it also recorded miraculous refining techniques. If Emochen had this divine canon, she might be able to become a divine refiner that existed only in the ancient era. At that time, The insignificant Cloud Sea domain would no longer be able to trap a genius like her. I will also give you a copy of the Book of Heavenly Works, Mo Chen said softly. There's no need. I do not have any talent for refining, nor do I have much time to study it. Since it is a divine canon, most people probably would not be able to understand it. It would be useless even if you gave it to me. I just want your grief pendant, and the solar true flame. After Xiaochen spoke, he opened his mouth and spat out. The dragon phoenix cauldron containing the golden crow egg slowly appeared. Xiaochen turned his right eye and sucked in all the purple thunder true fire in the dragon phoenix cauldron. Fine cracks had already appeared on the surface of the golden crow egg. Based on this efficiency, it would take at least 10 years to hatch this golden crow egg. Only the solar true flame could increase this speed. Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. When Emo-chan saw this cauldron, she was clearly astonished. There was even a trace of excitement in her eyes. Xiaochen was not surprised. Any blacksmith would have such an expression when they saw the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. The Firely sect only had 3 genuine Dragon Phoenix Cauldrons. These were the legendary divine cauldrons for refining. They could greatly increase the efficiency and success rate of refining. Unfortunately, they were covered in dust in Xiaochen's hands. He had learned too many things. Saber techniques, immortal arts, cultivation techniques, and physical body. All of them took up a lot of time. Xiaochen simply did not have much time to focus on refining. What kind of egg is this? This is the one that needs to be hatched with the solar true flame? Even though Emo-chan was very experienced and knowledgeable, she could not think of the golden crow egg that was as hard as a rock. Xiaochen nodded and said, "Send in the solar true flame. We will know what kind of egg it is after half a year." The golden crow was a legendary holy beast. Don't disappoint me after half a year. Emo-chan opened her right hand. A spot of golden light appeared on her smooth, jade-like palm. She squinted, and the spot of golden light suddenly grew larger. The light was resplendent and resplendent. The night was as bright as day. A clump of blazing fire appeared on Emo-chan's fair palm. It looked like she was holding a small sun. Xiaochen looked carefully. The origin flame was about 6 centimeters in diameter. Unexpectedly, it was larger than his lunar true flame. Xiaochen pressed his palm down, and the solar true flame entered the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. The blazing fire spread throughout the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Chapter 10:26. Night fell once more, and the light disappeared. Xiaochen revealed an expression of joy as he carefully put away the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Many thanks. It's fine. I lost the bet. Indeed, one grief pendant cannot hire you for a year. Emo-chan said softly with a smile. Then Xiaochen thought of something else. He asked, "Are there Grandmaster Alchemists in the Shattered Cloud Sea?" Emo-chan answered, "Grandmaster Alchemists are not easy to find. I believe that it would be hard to find one in the entire Cloud Sea domain. Even if there were, the city lords of the various sea domains would treat them as honored guests. They would not easily refine medicinal pills for others." Indeed, it was a Xiaochen guessed. Even in the Medicine God Valley, there were only 3 Grandmaster Alchemists. More accurately, there were only 2 now. Mr. Wei and Mr. Qin both died at Xiaochen's hands. However, the Medicine God Valley had a divine great alchemist. The death of 2 Grandmaster Alchemists was not a calamity. With the nurturing of the Medicine God, there would be no shortage of Grandmaster Alchemists. In the Cloud Sea domain, where the peak combat power was only the blue-robed emperor, it would be difficult to find a Grandmaster Alchemist. What medicinal pill do you want to refine? Perhaps I can help, Emo-chan said with a gentle smile. You know how to refine medicinal pills? Right after Xiaochen finished speaking, he suddenly remembered that when the manservant introduced Emo-chan earlier, he said that she was skilled in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. She was skilled in medicine, and could even make weapons into armor. She was skilled in all of them. She was skilled in refining treasures, refining medicinal pills, brewing wine, and many other miscellaneous things. Xiaochen handed the alchemic recipe to the other party with the attitude of giving it a try. Heavenly Origin Pill. This is a king-grade medicinal pill that can repair law energy. No wonder when I first saw young Master One, your complexion did not look good and you looked weak. It turns out that you are severely injured. Imochen was not too surprised. In her opinion, Xiaochen had probably fallen from inferior grade martial sage to martial monarch. She would never have imagined that Xiaochen was a horrifying great grandmaster level martial sage. 5 Dragon Force, a rank 4 sage body, great grandmaster level martial sage cultivation, an immortal art magic skill, and a will of thunder and ice. Such strength was sufficient to sweep through the Cloud Sea domain. Even the blue-robed emperor of the Cloud Sea domain, Xiaochen, could not stop him if he wanted to leave. That was in the past. If he had recovered his strength now, he would have been able to rise from the ashes. If Xiaochen was unwilling, he wouldn't have been able to leave even if he wanted to. How is it? Are you confident? A king-grade medicinal pill is a little difficult. I am still a distance away from becoming a grandmaster alchemist. I can barely achieve a success rate of 30%. Imochen revealed an apologetic look in her eyes. She said honestly, even if I do my best, there is only a 40% chance of success. Young Master One, you should look for someone else. When Xiaochen heard this, he rejoiced. He smiled and said, then it shall be you. I will prepare 10 sets of materials for you. Unless your luck is extremely bad, you will definitely succeed at least once. 10 sets of king-grade medicinal pill ingredients? Imochen was shocked. Even in the Southern Sea, there were not many youths who could be so extravagant. Immediately, Imochen could not help feeling curious about Xiaochen's identity. 3 days later, the Purple Cloud warship arrived safely at Starry Cloud Island's harbor. Starry Cloud Island was the Emo clan's territory, the foundation of the clan. In the Shattered Cloud Sea, this Starry Cloud Island was rather famous. It was even famous in the neighboring sea domains like the Broken Cloud Sea and the Heavenly Cloud Sea. Merchant associations and cultivators came to purchase secret treasures in an endless stream all year round, creating a bustling place. Right now, Imochen was the one in charge of the Emo clan. She still had many matters to deal with. Naturally, Xiaochen did not have that much time. He followed her step by step, leaving only a strand of his spiritual sense on her before starting his own cultivation. Time passed. The magic energy in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness had already recovered most of it. Xiaochen's immortal will of thunder reached small perfection again. However, his saber soul was still scattered in his sea of consciousness. Collecting it was rather problematic, but it was just a matter of time. The only thing that excited Xiaochen was the will of ice. He could rely on the 1,000-year flame that Imochen personally asked for. The cultivation speed of the will of ice was gratifying. It had already broken through small perfection, and was steadily advancing toward great perfection. Xiaochen thought about the will of thunder. He had spent more than 2 years and relied on all sorts of fortuitous encounters to cultivate it to great perfection. Then he thought about the cultivation speed of the will of ice. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it advanced at a rapid pace. After 1 month, Xiaochen finished grinding the 1,000-year flame that Imochen had prepared. Now, Xiaochen's will of ice was at great perfection. It was even stronger than the recovering will of thunder. The crystalline small saber in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness gave off a cold light. Strands of cold qi wrapped around the saber, sending out a boundless cold light. With a thought, Xiaochen's forehead flashed, and the 3-inch-long ice saber appeared between his fingers, looking no different from a real object. Xiaochen moved his fingers, and the small saber spun around. The bone-chilling saber qi turned into a saber wind howling. Snowflakes drifted down in the courtyard, dancing in the air. The nimble movements of the small saber were as miraculous as Xiaochen's extra fingers. Bang! The instant the small saber stopped moving, the wind and snow froze. Space and time seemed to freeze at this moment. The small ice saber between Xiaochen's fingers had already vanished at some point. A tree 100 meters in front turned into an ice sculpture. It was like the ice had completely transformed from the inside out. Bang! The tree shattered, and ice shards flew everywhere. The ground in the courtyard was covered in shattered ice. A cold light flew over, and the small ice saber reappeared between Xiaochen's fingers. Xiaochen did not dare to use his full power here, so he could only test it out in a small area. The effects were startling. If he used the full might of this small saber, made of the will of ice together with Xiao Chen's current strength, killing Grandmaster-level martial sages would not be difficult. I do not have an ice-attributed saber technique. Even with the great perfection will of ice, I can only injure the enemy like this. It is somewhat of a waste, Xiao Chen said with some regret as he withdrew the small saber. However, if he could infuse the will of ice into the winter saber, the might of the winter saber should increase significantly. Heaven-ranked martial techniques were the peak of the world. However, with Xiao Chen's current cultivation, he naturally knew that there were even more powerful martial techniques above heaven-ranked. Most cultivators referred to martial techniques that surpassed heaven-ranked as profound martial techniques. Xiao Chen's subduing dragon profound slash was a martial technique that surpassed heaven-ranked. The four-season saber technique's cycle of seasons could also be considered a profound martial technique. If Xiao Chen infused the will of ice into the winter saber, just this saber strike alone could reach the standard of a profound martial technique. After not seeing you for 1 month, it looks like young master when strength has improved again. Mo Chun, who was wearing a veil, slowly walked in from outside the courtyard. There was a fatigued expression on her face, and she seemed to be in a somewhat dispirited state. It looked like Mo Chun had been very tired in the past month for the sake of refining that set of sage-grade secret treasures for the city lord's residence. Although the Mo clan was large, Mo Chun was the only one who could refine secret treasures. The others could only act as assistants at best and would not be of much help. However, since Mo Chun already came out, it meant that the secret treasures had been refined and were about to be sent over. You want me to accompany you to Shattered Cloud City, right? With a thought, Xiao Chen guessed Mo Chen's purpose in coming here. Yes. The crucial ingredients for refining the Heavenly Origin pill can only be bought in Shattered Cloud City. Mo Chen said softly. The Lu clan suffered greatly the last time. They will definitely cause trouble again. To avoid exposing ourselves, I'll go with you alone. Moving alone was fine. If he could rush to Shattered Cloud City, Xiao Chen did not have any objections. Come, let's depart now. Mo Chen led Xiao Chen out of Starry Cloud Island's underground tunnel. Their movements were very secretive. Aside from a few of the Mo clan's upper echelon, no one knew that the two had left. Mo Chen and Xiao Chen walked on the surface of the sea, their figures hidden in the vast sea. The two moved cautiously, flying along the vast sea with their own cultivation. Indeed, they did not run into any trouble. Shattered Cloud City is in front. Mo Chen said as she pointed to the blurry silhouette of a city on the vast sea at the limits of her vision. That was a city built on the sea. Xiao Chen sent out his spiritual sense and carefully observed it. Shattered Cloud City had transformed a vast island into a city. From a distance, it gave off the feeling of a city in the sea. Aside from Shattered Cloud City, there were 7 other similar cities in the sea in the Cloud Sea domain. Each of the 8 city lords ruled a sea. All of them had the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor. The position of Shattered Cloud City's city lord in the Shattered Cloud Sea was like that of a noble in the mundane world. He was the absolute ruler of this sea. The other factions had to submit to him in order to survive in the Shattered Cloud Sea. If they disobeyed, the consequences would be severe. However, over the past few thousand years, the city lord of Shattered Cloud City had changed several times. As long as one had the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor, and was confident of killing the city lord, one could immediately ascend to the position of city lord, and become the ruler of the Shattered Cloud Sea. The current Shattered Cloud City's city lord was the one who had killed the previous city lord 100 years ago and replaced him as the new city lord. For more than 100 years, the other factions of the Shattered Cloud Sea had not dared to resist. This was the principle of the strong being revered. There were many cultivators like the two of them on the surface of the sea. As the center of the Shattered Cloud Sea, Shattered Cloud City naturally did not lack people. It was 100 times more bustling than Starry Cloud Island. Come, let's enter the city directly. We will go to the city lord's residence first. After that, we will buy the materials for refining the Heavenly Origin pill. Even though Mo Chen arrived safely in Shattered Cloud City, she did not show much joy on her face. Xiao Chen could understand this. She had spent so much effort and resources to refine a secret treasure. It would be strange if she was in a good mood if she just gave it to someone else. Given Mo Chen's talent, Starry Cloud Island's Mo clan truly limited her development. Shattered Cloud City demanded resources like this every year. Aside from maintaining the clan's development, there was not much left for Mo Chen. If Mo Chen were in a large sect, given her talent and beauty, she would be able to obtain countless resources. Her accomplishments would be many times greater than what she was now. Unfortunately, the Mo clan seemed to be relying on Mo Chen alone. If she left, the Mo clan would definitely be swallowed up in this world where the strong preyed on the weak. Is that Miss Mo Chen in front? A large black ship descended behind the two. A flag fluttered on the bow of the ship, with a flamboyant ancient character written on it. A person with a sword at his waist stood below the flag. His clothes fluttered in the wind, giving him an elegant air as he called out to Mo Chen. Broken Cloud City's young city lord, Gu Jianga. When Mo Chen saw this person, she frowned slightly and whispered his identity. Xiao Chen looked carefully and discovered that this person's cultivation was passable, a superior grade martial sage. Based on this person's appearance, he looked to be about 30 years old. Such talent could barely be considered first-rate in the Kunlun continent. Chapter 1027. Hehe, it really is Miss Mo Chen. I didn't expect to bump into you here. Since we've bumped into each other, come up and have a seat. Another person appeared beside Gu Jianga. It was a man who was about the same age as Gu Jianga and wore luxurious clothes, and he gave a faint smile. However, when his gaze lingered on Mo Chen's delicate body, there was an obscure, evil light in his eyes. With one look, it was clear that he was not a good person. Separated Cloud City's young city lord Shi Feng. The two young city lords of the Broken Cloud Sea and the Separated Cloud Sea had also come to Shattered Cloud City. The two of them were outstanding talents of the younger generation in the Cloud Sea domain. Their fathers were both blue-robed emperor cultivators. They were influential people in the entire Cloud Sea domain, extremely strong. Mo Chen did not feel happy in her heart. She rejected. Mo Chen has matters to attend to. I can only apologize for your invitation. With that, he turned around and left. Shi Feng's face turned stiff, and the attendant beside him immediately understood. He jumped down from the bow of the ship and blocked the path of the two. Miss Mo Chen, my young city lord is only inviting you up for a drink and a chat. There is no need to reject him so decisively. This person was about 50 years old, an medial-grade martial sage. He stood in front of the two and stretched out his hand to block the way. Didn't you hear my young miss say that she has something important to attend to? Xiao Chen was unhappy in his heart. He was in a hurry to purchase the key ingredients for the Heavenly Origin pill, so he did not have the time to waste here. Do you have the right to speak? When the attendant saw that Xiao Chen was merely a martial monarch, yet he dared to point fingers at him, he immediately became angry and took 3 steps forward. With every step he took, huge waves would rise on the surface of the sea, startling the surroundings. As he walked, he used an extremely ingenious footwork. Although it was only 3 steps, it was extremely nimble. His figure turned illusory, moving like a phantom. Then, he swung his hand down like an eagle hunting its prey, wanting to claw Xiao Chen's brains out. 9 roaming dragon transformations. Xiao Chen's figure flickered, and his figure also began to change. 9 real and fake figures, with different expressions and movements. Compared to the ghostly footwork, it was even harder to distinguish the real from the fake. That attendant could not help but be at a loss, not knowing where to start. Although he could not see through Xiao Chen's movement technique, it did not mean that Xiao Chen could not see through him. The 9 figures suddenly merged into one and punched. An azure dragon head formed on his fist. This was the dragon claw fist that he had not used in a long time. The dragon roared and struck the follower's chest, sending him flying far away, not giving him a chance to get up again. Xiao Chen's left hand turned into a claw and connected its head to its tail. An azure dragon formed from pure vital qi flew out and knocked the servant away again. Excuse me, young master Shi. Mo Chen indeed has important matters to attend to. Farewell. Xiao Chen does have. Mo Xiao Ti to say this. Mo to Xiao Tu. Ti to say. Xiao. It to jai with tea. It. Shi. I. Guchen iti jit. Tite emochan. Emotive. Ti think. Emochan. Gujianga smiled and said, "It's just a woman, brother sure. There's no need to be so angry." "Can I not be angry? Who do you think I am? I am the city lord of separated Cloud City. I invited her several times, but she rejected me every time. This time, she even touched my servant." Shifeng cursed with a murderous expression. Gujianga did not reply. He asked, "Who is that person beside her? His cultivation is not high, but his physical body and vital qi are shockingly strong. He does not look like a Mo clan cultivator." Shifeng said coldly, "This person is very bold. He even dares to make a move on my Shi clan's people." Gujianga said sullenly, "Let's stop here for now. This time, we 8 young city lords are gathering in Shattered Cloud City to discuss the trip to the Treasure Mountain. We cannot be late." When Shifeng heard about the trip to the Treasure Mountain, he calmed down from his rage. He only stared at Xiao Chen's back, the murderous intent in his eyes never fading. As Xiao Chen watched Emo Chen walk in front without saying a word, he felt sorrowful in his heart. Sometimes being too beautiful was a problem. Xiao Chen could not see what Emo Chen looked like, because she wore a veil. However, when he looked at her silhouette, her exquisite figure, her eyes that looked like stars and gems, her smooth fair skin, and the fact that these outstanding talents of the Cloud Sea domain chased after her, without a doubt, she was a beauty. However, in this Cloud Sea domain where the strong preyed on the weak, without the protection of a clan, such a beauty would only bring disaster. It must have been very difficult for her to persevere all these years. Shifeng and Gujianga entered the Cloud Sea domain on a boat without any obstructions. Instead, they arrived at the city lord's residence ahead of Mo Chun. 6 people had already arrived in the Great Hall of the city lord's residence long ago. These 6 people all had extraordinary appearances and arrogant expressions. They were all superior grade martial sages. In the Cloud Sea domain, they indeed had the right to be proud of having such a cultivation at such a young age. The one sitting in the middle was the young city lord of Shattered Cloud City. His father ruled the Shattered Cloud Sea and was the blue-robed emperor. The others also had extraordinary backgrounds, no weaker than the young city lords of the other cities of the Cloud Sea domain. When Shifeng and Gujianga arrived, the young city lords of the 8 great cities of the Cloud Sea domain all gathered. Wang Ju, the young city lord of Shattered Cloud City, stood up to welcome them. He smiled and said, "Brother Shi, Brother Gu, why are you so late?" Shifeng replied unhappily, "I ran into some trouble along the way. If not for giving face to Brother Wang, I would have fallen out with you on the spot." Wang Ju's expression changed slightly. The others also revealed interested expressions as they quickly asked about the reason. Shifeng added fuel to the fire, telling them about his encounter with Mo Chen along the way. This Mo Chen really thinks that she is the Golden Phoenix. She is just managing a mere rank 6 clan, yet she dares to show me attitude, and even let her subordinate attack my people. At this point, Shifeng paused for a moment. Then he glanced at Wang Ju and said, "Brother Wang, I know that you have always been interested in this girl. So, I gave you face this time and did not lose my temper. However, this time, we went to the Treasure Mountain together to seek fortuitous encounters. No matter what, you have to compensate me for my losses." Frost Cloud City's young city lord Meng Xingwen smiled in agreement and said, "We have noble statuses. We can destroy a rank 6 clan with the flip of a hand in the Cloud Sea domain. This Mo Chun is indeed somewhat outrageous. She even dares to attack Brother Shi's subordinate. This is indeed outrageous. We should teach this Mo Chun a lesson. Brother Wang Ju, you can't shield her anymore." The others thought of something and took advantage of the opportunity to apply pressure as well. These people had been drooling over Mo Chen's beauty and unique refining skills for a long time. However, she was in the Shattered Cloud Sea, so they did not dare to use force. Furthermore, they could not rely on their charm to win her heart. In the end, they would still benefit Wang Ju. Naturally, the other 7 felt upset. These people held noble statuses in the Cloud Sea domain, calling the wind and summoning the rain. They were like local tyrants, used to being arrogant and despotic. Mo Chen had worn out their patience long ago. If not for Wang Ju, they would have used other evil methods long ago. Wang Ju's expression changed. Soon he smiled and said, I understand what you all are thinking. There is no need to affect our relationship for a woman. Honestly speaking, I have worn out my patience as well. Wang Ju's plan all along was to obtain both the woman and the wealth. He wanted to use his charm to subdue the other party. Not only would he obtain the Mo clan's refining skills, but he would also obtain her heart. However, after working hard for so many years, there was no effect. Now that the others were making things difficult for him, he decided to go with the flow. He could not be bothered to continue. Shi Feng's eyes lit up. He had not expected his casual words to have such a miraculous effect. He said, In that case, Brother Wang, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? Wang Ju smiled coldly and said, Soon, she will come to the city lord's residence to deliver a set of secret treasures to me. At that time, I will give her one last chance. If she does not agree, I will directly capture her. I will not have any objections to what you all do. Ha ha. Shi Feng laughed loudly and said, Brother Wang is really generous. This Chen deserves it. Brother Wang's status is the highest, and you have such deep feelings for her. However, she rejected the face I gave her. She is just asking for it. Wang Ju sat down and took a sip of tea. Let's continue our earlier topic. The treasure mountain is filled with danger. Not only are there many demonic beasts, but there are also many combat puppets refined by the Firely sect, traps, formations, and restrictions. Our 8 clans can only obtain the greatest benefits by working together. The 2 great merchant associations of the Cloud Sea domain will definitely send people over. Also, some of the old fellows of the Cloud Sea domain will be tempted. These are not the most worrying things. I'm just afraid that people from the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea will come as well. It's fine. A small place like the Cloud Sea domain will not attract the attention of those people. Even if they come, so what? A strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its territory. With our 8 clans working together, they will have to think twice. The 8 discuss with each other, studying the various variables of the trip to the treasure mountain. Outside the city lord's residence, Xiaochun and Chen entered together. However, when Xiaochun entered, a guard stopped him. The young city lord has ordered that only Miss Chen is allowed to enter. Unrelated people are not allowed to enter the city lord's residence. The guard at the door said to Xiaochun coldly and arrogantly with a cold and arrogant expression. Xiaochun frowned slightly, not liking the other party's tone. Never mind. Young Master One, go to the herb store in the city first. I'll meet up with you later. Chen advised softly under the veil. Xiaochun nodded and said, In that case, be careful. Chen smiled faintly and said, Haha, it's fine. I've been to this city lord's residence several times before. It is not a den of wolves or tigers. Just wait for me. Seeing Chen enter the city lord's residence, Xiaochun had a bad feeling. Shaking his head, Xiaochun turned and left. He had left a strand of spiritual sense on Chen. As long as she was in danger, he could rush over immediately. Although the 2 had a cooperative relationship, they did not have much of a friendship. However, Xiaochun was a man of his word. Since he agreed to be Chen's bodyguard for 1 year, he would definitely ensure Chen's safety for that year. Hopefully nothing happened. The city lord's residence was filled with experts. With Xiaochun's current strength, it would be difficult for him to barge in. However, if something really happened, even if the blue-robed emperor came out of closed-door cultivation, Xiaochun would bring Chen out without hesitation. The largest herb store in Shattered Cloud City was called Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. Cultivators needed to use medicine when they got injured, to cultivate, and to break through bottlenecks. They also needed assistance. No matter where, the business of a herb store would never be slow. A large city like Shattered Cloud City was no exception. Rivers crisscrossed the city, waterways crisscrossed, and lakes formed clusters. Xiaochun called over a small boat and paid some astral coins. The boatman set off, carrying Xiaochun to Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.